creme de la creme in terms of the country, Simpiwe Dludlu, Ganye no Gloria Brown. It's so good to see you looking good. It's good, actually, in fact, to be back with the HWBSL action.
We're very excited, Toli. Good morning to you. I almost said good afternoon, but good morning to you. Actually, football o'clock, you never know what time is it.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be an exciting close off because it's the last week for all the other teams to be playing this week. And I think energies are dying out a bit, but some teams would want to finish on a high, especially if you're looking at TUT, who's in the top 8 now. And while the other top 3 are not playing, that want to capitalize and make sure that they garner as much points as they can. For Tsunami Queens, it's still a bit difficult for them, but I hope today they'll be able to just show a bit more character like they've been doing with their 2 draws that they've gotten so far in the league.
And Gloria, for many of the teams, especially for Tsunami, this is going to be a welcome break, you know, only back 30th of July. So a lot of time to kind of piece things together. But before doing all of that, to make sure that at least today you walk away with a point or even the maximum 3 points.
I agree with you, Toli, but it's always a pleasure to be here on a Sunday, dishing out the best of women's football. It is an important time on the calendar for women's football right now. We have the AUCON to look forward to. And let us take this opportunity to wish Banyana Banyana the best of luck. If the time is right, it is now to bring that cup home. And we really hope that it will set the tone. Coming back to today's fixture, Tsunami yet to get a win. The only team that sits there with a 0 on number of games won. For the coaches, the players, they need to really dig deep and reflect about where they are on the position, which is 16. What do they want out of HWBSL? And really believe, can they turn the corner? You mentioned a break, a much-deserved break, to allow teams to ensure that they connect, they fix, they buy, they adjust, and come back refreshed after the break. So definitely something to look forward to some, although some might say, you're breaking my momentum, like TUT, who's come in really on a very, very good vein of form.
Absolutely. And of course, this season is the very first season when we will have the relegation and promotion in terms of the teams. So Tsunami Queens, they're really not looking good in terms of their position on the log. But in terms of news that came in yesterday from the Sandton Convention Center, Danny Jordan re-elected as the SAFA president. It was a landslide victory. He got 186 votes. Riale Dwaba only amassing 27 votes, and Usoli Muhlabeng only 8. Of course, Dan Jordan has been at the helm for 9 years and will continue for the next 4 years. You know, these elections, there was a lot of talk surrounding them, but finally now we know who is going to sit at the helm of the presidency.
I think the most important thing is that always a leader needs to find a way and a balance in making sure that there's progress in football in South Africa as a whole. And right now, the big scope is on Banyana Banyana, who's at AUCON, because the under-17s, under-20s couldn't qualify for the World Cup. Women, the boys, we're still waiting to see them qualify also. There's a lot of competitions that go on, but there's still a lot more to be done in terms of development. And development is not just the players and the teams, but to administrators, to referees, to everything that has to do with making sure that this product of football becomes one that aligns with what the rest of the world is doing. So for me, also in that, it's to be appreciative of the fact that Banyana Banyana doesn't have to discuss their bonus
yes.
in match day -1 to the tournament. We already know there's 9.2 million that is out there for them to share. So Minangiti Abaye bring their best foot, because the elections are well and done with, you know, less stress, more things to focus on. So I think to them, City, bakhanyisa makhandlela impepho bathandaze zonke konke so that they go to this AUCON and make sure which they come back with a victory. And congratulations to Dr. Danny Jordan for remaining as the leader of the South African Football Association.
Absolutely. And when we talk about that bonus, it's life-changing. 400,000 rands per player. You know, they were saying they broke the bank in terms of the Banyana Banyana players, because they've never actually given out such a huge bonus in terms of football.
Allow me to congratulate Danny Jordan on another term. Sadly for me, it's the same. And you ask yourself, what is to change? 9 years at the helm is a long time.
Yeah.
What hasn't he done in the past that he promises to do in the future? It's a concerning, and we're hoping that he would make sure that football is elevated. Getting back to women's football, wow, it's really a moment to cherish for those players out there, knowing that there's 400K waiting. They'd have to go and break a leg. They'd have to come back with it. But it's going to be a tough ask, and when you look at the number of teams that are at the tournament. But good luck.
Asazi-ke mhlambe uDanny Jordan is now going to be talking about Vision 2026. Sizobona, what the presidency is going to give in terms of the next 4 years. But in terms of this fixture that we are all anticipating, the two teams have met in 4 previous occasions, and in all 4 it was TUT that came out victorious. But of course yesterday we also had 3 matches that were played. Ma-Indies, what an important victory for them against City Lads. They went up to 3rd on the log. Bloem Celtic registering their 6th draw of the season when they played out to a goalless draw with First Touch. And of course Durban Ladies and Golden Ladies. It was the Durban Ladies that came out victorious 5-1. Umhlongo kanye noNdlovu, they had braces in that encounter. And of course the double header that we are going to be bringing to you. Very interesting in terms of Bloem Celtic. Yet another draw. In fact, the only team now that has 6 draws so far.
I think maybe they are hitting a deterioration, but at the same time, you'd want to applaud them to say, in them losing points, they are not losing matches. They are just dropping 2 points and they gaining 1 point, and it's who they are playing against. It's difficult to really get a win when you go away, and that's what they struggled with. But I think also coach has got something right now, because they're still in the top 8.
Yeah.
And with that, it means Guti, they're still pushing and making sure Guti, they're working hard, they're still scoring goals and all of that. But unfortunately, Guti, ama drawabo, mostly ama 0-0. The only one that was electrifying was that 2-2 against Golden Ladies. I mean, I beg your pardon, Tsunami Queens.
And absolutely, in terms of Tsunami Queens, rooted to the bottom. But of course, a victory for them today will take them to 5 points. And of course, they'll go up over Golden Ladies. So it is critical for them to walk away with the victory. It's not going to be easy, though, against TUT. And we see the debutants in terms of Vasco da Gama, City Lads, and they are still in that bottom 8. And in terms of the top, Ma-Indies are now in 3rd position. A very critical victory there against City Lads yesterday.
They really are working and grinding results. When you look at Ma-Indies, it was one of the teams that we said are going to be the dark horses. I think Ma-Indies was one of the teams that basically taught the other teams how to beat Mamelodi Sundowns. And they are really playing some wonderful football. And congratulations to them on their 2-1 victory against City Lads. They deserve to be in 3rd position.
Absolutely. And of course, TUT are 6th, but a victory for them today will change their position on the log. Let's now take you through to the UJ Soweto campus, where Umangobo is standing by with the scene setter.
Thank you so much, Xoli. Good morning to you and, of course, to our viewers at home. Now, your HWBSL Super League fixture list would not be complete without a doubleheader. And this Sunday, it is coming to you from the UJ Soweto Soccer Stadium out in Soweto, where windy weather conditions do welcome us. A quick look at the weather here today. We are sitting at about 13 degrees Celsius. Humidity levels at 28%. And that wind that I mentioned earlier on, coming in quite cold. It is coming at 16 kilometers per hour. Now, those are the conditions that the two teams will be looking to get the job done here today. It is, of course, TUT that will be playing host to Tsunami Queens. Now, these two teams, they're actually separated by 17 points on the log, as well as 10 positions. It is 6th place TUT, currently on 19 points. They will be playing host to Tsunami Queens, a team that is currently at the bottom of the log, only having collected 2 points from 2 draws so far this season. Out of the 10 10 games that they have played, they have lost 8 of those. So they are still in search for their maiden victory of this season. Kanti zobona ukuthi namhlanje kuzohamba kanjani for coach Mufukeng. Yena uyathemba ukuthi iqembu lakhe lizokwazi ukunqoba la namhlanje, and he is still quite optimistic, saying at the beginning of the season they set certain short-term goals for themselves. They haven't quite met them, but he still believes that his team can get the job done. On the other side for TUT, well, they come into this game. They lost 5 games. They've managed to win 3 of those and secure themselves 2 draws. So they do come into this encounter quite high on confidence. And of course, their last match was on the 11th of June, where they walked away 1-0 victors against JVW. So they will be looking to continue with that momentum. And of course, this break that they've had for about 2 weeks does both of these two teams good, as they've been able to identify problems that they can work on and fix as they try to secure yet another 3 points for TUT, that is. But for Tsunami Queens, it is in search for their first 3 points of the season. So ngesibona ukuthi lo mdlalo uzohamba kanjani phambi kwala maqembu amabili. And of course, SABC Sports will be bringing you all that action live. But for now, let's take it back to the team in studio.
Thank you so much, Busiwe. Also good to see that the pitch is well manicured. The conditions are a bit cold, but the action will be heated up. Let's take a quick ad break. When we do return, we'll show you the journey for these 2 teams and just their head-to-head stats. And of course, we'll bring you the coaches' interviews. So there is lots coming up. Don't miss it.
This month on SABC2, you will believe the legend. You'll believe the impossible. You'll believe the ruse. You'll believe the incredible. And most of all, you'll believe that a man can fly. The Man of Steel, flying across your screens every Saturday at 3, this month on 2.
Please note that the official date for analog television switch-off is imminent. If you're still watching television through an aerial, please take the following steps to continue watching your favorite programs on the SABC. Buy a digital tuner for your analog TV set and get connected. Buy any digital television decoder, either satellite or digital terrestrial, and get connected. Buy a smart television and connect through an aerial. If you can't afford any of the above, please contact your nearest post office for more information on how to connect. For more information, please WhatsApp 0600 625 458 or call 0860 736 832.
And they are somewhat mission impossible to close the gap on HWBSL Super League reigning champions and current log leaders Mamelodi Sundowns. 6th place TUT will feel that they have a solid chance with their next fixture. A 7-point gap isn't mission impossible just yet. The Tshwane-based outfit host bottom side Tsunami Queens, who still haven't registered a single victory since the start of this season, and like most of their rivals, have an impressive winning record against the Free State side. When they have met, TUT have run rings around Tsunami, and it's always raining goals. So you would be spot on predicting the status quo is not about to change. Tsunami first travelled to the country's capital in the inaugural year of the Super League 3 seasons ago and constantly had to pick the ball out of the net 7 times to be exact, while the visitors did get 2 goals as consolation. And then it was their turn to host TUT in Botlokong, hoping home ground advantage. But when crowds had easy access to the stadium before the pandemic, that this would be a plus. But it was a 6-1 loss that confirmed they were easily the most vulnerable side in the league, a tag that they have not been able to shrug off to date. At the TUT Stadium this time last year, there was a goal feast. And as you've guessed it, Tsunami were being dissected and carved open as the hosts could not stop scoring. And now going to their next encounter with a perfect run after a 4-0 victory from the last time that they met. Catching Sundowns will require persistence and consistency. However, this is one game TUT will head into confident of the maximum 3 points. Even with the old age adage that football is unpredictable, Tsunami Queens are seriously on the back foot, though stranger things have happened.
It's quite interesting and quite tricky there when you look at the head-to-head stats. TUT winning all 4 of those matches, scoring 25 goals, and Tsunami Queens only managing 3. Of course, Gloria, we're not supposed to be dwelling on head-to-head stats because anything can happen in those 90 minutes. But when you look at that, it's not looking good for Tsunami.
Definitely not. And you're looking at a team that's really on song at the moment. Players really understanding the combinations. Coach really settling in with the players, bringing in some different dynamics. The team having the ability to be tactically flexible to basing the opponents that they're facing. But again, you've seen Busisiwe Ndamieni become a revelation for the side, Setunya as well. So this team is really a team that deserves to be probably in the top 3 at the way that they are playing. Regrettably, results don't always favor them, but the coach has done fantastically well. And with 25 goals scored, conceding 13, it's not too bad at all for TUT because they do have a positive goal difference of 9.
Absolutely. And also when you're looking at TUT, it's the number of players that have been able to score for the club, which is also a positive.
Yeah, it's been a positive because 8 different players that have been scoring, and Undimeni has been leading with 6 goals. So that just tells you, Guti, they can go to any player coming in to score goals. It's the experience that they have and the younger players that they're also trying to infuse into the team. I think the only worry for them is the goals that they are conceding, because at the end, it's going to be a challenge.
It definitely will be a challenge. It's something that coach Lakisibia is going to want to rectify. Let's hear from him.
We are now joined by the co-coach of TUT, Lakisibia. Coach, I guess khuluma mhlambe ngama midterm goals wenu as iqembu ukuthi now we know we're almost a third into the season. How have you guys done in terms of what you planned out to do this season?
I think I think statistically, if you look at our form, we have 5 match wins, 4 draws and 1 loss. I think averagely we are doing okay. We are stable.
In terms of what you set out to do this season?
Yes, definitely.
All right, and then in terms of what you set out to do in this encounter, Namhlanje, how will you be lining up and how will you be looking to get the job done?
I think the approach is always the same from a TUT brand. I mean, we always look to attack. We always look to expose spaces. We always look to pounce on mistakes and also using their strengths to our advantage.
Their weaknesses to your advantage.
Their strength.
Their strengths to your advantage.
I was actually right in saying that, because sometimes we look at weakness, we think that's where you can expose, but you find that the strength is actually the one that you can use to expose. I mean, they are playing a narrow game, so that's their strength. Now what do? We take them where they are strongest, we take them out.
All right, coach. And umasithi siyayibheka iTsunami iqembu that so far alikakwazi ukunqoba kule season. Mhlambe into enika more confidence going into this encounter?
I think uma singayi approach ngaleyo ndlela leyo. That's where teams like your Celtics got it wrong, because you go into a match uyiwinile ungakayidlali. It's a big problem. You go in there, you apply all the things that you've been doing. I mean, with the break also, which helped. You go in there, you approach the match the same way that you prepared, like you would prepare for any other opponent.
Well, Sangweni that scored in their 1-0 victory against UJ last week is on the starting 11.
Yeah, and there's only 5 changes in this team, and Komane is off, Mukwana is off, Mpurunzweng and Dimeni are off. And Usangweni, the goal scorer from that previous match against EUJ, is on today. And there's a new striker also in the Ukumalo, who we haven't seen much in the league. But I think, like I said, this experienced team is a team that is able to just, alternate with the squad and all of that to make sure they still bring the best players on the field to go and compete and get results for them.
Well, the big question is, can Tsunami Queens get their very first victory of the season? The coach, Thabiso Mofokeng, has got a lot to do. Let's hear from him.
Tsunami Queens coach Thabiso Mofokeng joins us now. Coach, before we go to game ya kajeko, are short-term goals tsa lona as a team at the beginning of the season? How far are you in terms of the goals you set at the beginning?
At least top 8, but and then ha re ka cheka ne re tlo di fihlella empa ntse le di mistakes tse re di etsa di game tse ntse hore qetelle re le mereleng teng, but for nna le team ke nahana ne ke zamme ho fihlella mo.
Coach, today is an opportunity where you haven't done well this season. How do you get the job done on the field of play against the TUT side?
Re zamme haholo ne re na le 2 weeks no tjenana di game ne di sa peteletsana haholo ga khona ho lokisa di mistake tsa di game tse fitileng mme ntse re sa khone ho lokisa, then ra checka le game tsa bona ga bona go tlamme re lokise ka re khone ho attack batho ba.
So le tlo ba attacker jwang ka jego?
Re tla ba attack, re tla qala re ba defender, re ba attack ka morao ho fihlella bona ba change system tsa bona grounding, re batla ba change bona then ba eme rona re tsebang a ke re ba bohale.
Ukulma Akulu go defender, because really they've conceded 29 goals so far. So Ukabai there is going to be very important for the team.
Will definitely be important, but I think for the coach, he needs to really focus on his game and go in there and believe, play, knock the ball around, because they've really got a bit of confidence. But yes, getting the ball in the back of the net has been one of the Achilles heel, but they're certainly a team that can mix it. They score. They score first at times, but are not able to finish games or close off games. So when you're looking at that lineup, Kobai in goals and Ntsapeza, the captain, will really have to pull in a big shift. And Lebogang Moloi, who comes in this match, 1 of 3 changes, and Kujamo in the middle of the park will definitely be another one to look forward to. In actual fact, it's the 2 changes that they have made. The bench also pretty solid, looking at Winnie there, as well as Lindile Nklapo.
Oh, now I have to ask about predictions. How do you see this match swaying? Will it be the Red Army, or is it going to be the ladies from the Free State Tsunami Queens that walk away with the victory?
I think the Red Army will walk away with a victory with a plethora of goals because Tsunami is going with a 4-4-2 compared to their 5-3-2 that they always play with. So they might be exposed with that.
Wow. Gloria, are you also agreeing with that, the Red Army?
Definitely. On paper, it definitely shows that they've dominated this fixture from the time they got to know each other, and it should be no different. They need to improve their position on the log. That is TUT, and today will be no different.
Gloria, no simpiwe bavumelana ukuthi it will be the Red Army that walks away with the victory, but the first 45 minutes will be telling in terms of which way this match will be swaying. In terms of commentary, it is going to be absolutely amazing. In Zulu, Uguzoba Uthuli Mia, and of course, Uspiwe Mkonza is also going to be there. And of course, Ray Kuhn is also going to be helping out there with the English commentary. All the action will be happening at the UJ campus in Soweto. Of course, later on, it will be the host UJ that are going to be taking on Thunderbirds, but the concentration right now is going to be TUT up against Tsunami Queens, who will walk out victorious. Let's take you through to the UJ campus.
That time of the week has returned where women's football takes the center stage once again. This weekend sees a trip to the City of Gold for 4 of the league's teams, with some requiring points for survival and others striving to reach the pointy end of the mountain that is the HWBSL League table. And what a Sunday it is, and what is a Sunday without a double header in the HWBSL Super League. Hello again to you from wherever you may be watching, and welcome to the UJ Soccer Stadium here in Soweto, playing host to our first main feature of this morning. It's TUT taking on relegation contenders Tsunami Queens. Of course, rooted to the table, Tsunami Queens, they are still in search of their first win of the season, and I'm joined alongside me today, of course, Mr. Mkonza. So, one question to ask you: this Tsunami Queens team are rooted to the bottom of the table. No wins to show for it, only 2 draws away from home, so their home form is definitely not exactly something to shout about. But now going away in Soweto in cold conditions against a very good TUT team that seem to have developed a possession-based style of football and a very attacking-based style of football. These two teams have played each other before, and TUT have dished out a couple of humiliating losses for this Tsunami Queens to deal with, of course. Yesterday's results, there were a couple of results to brag about for Durban Ladies especially, as well as my Indies. Both those teams shooting up the log thanks to their victories just 24 hours ago. My Indies now enter the top 3 and go above JVW, barring in mind that they have played 2 games more than JVW. JVW and Mamelodi Sundowns, as well as UWC, have a couple of players in that newly formed Banyana side, so we'll be seeing those teams in action later on in the season. But as we can see now, the teams both in red and blue. TUT, the home side for this encounter, taking on, rooted to the bottom of the table, Tsunami Queens, desperately seeking their opening win of the season, of course. Tsunami Queens in the blue and TUT in the red. Spiwe Mkonza, they call them the Red Army. The question is, will the Red Army prevail against a wounded animal that is Tsunami Queens? Still making their way up into the pitch now. Of course, the referees in attendance, a full cast of female referees, as you can expect in the HWBSL Super League. Very cold conditions, as I did mention before, windy conditions for these players to deal with. It's an early start, and we do expect the weather to warm up once the afternoon does progress. But as we just have a little glance over that lineup for you, Massimo in goal, Vilakazi and Ramoka providing that width when attacking in a rather narrow formation, it has to be said. Mkonza.
Thank you very much, Ray. What's important is the game approach is informed by the strengths and weaknesses of the opposition in relation to your strengths and weaknesses. But if you look at the two sides, today TUT will be playing a 4-2-3-1. What's key about their formation is it's the wide areas. Vilakazi, Sangweni, Overload, and Omutlejo and Ramoka on the side, which is critical for them in terms of the offensive play. But what's important is those Mazibugo and Queenan in the central midfield to allow the full backs to that freedom to attack without worrying about the space vacated. So what's important for TUT to suffocate them with a high press.
And for Tsunami Queens, I did mention the impact that they do need to have on this game. Rooted to the bottom of the table, no wins to show for it. As we can see then, Zapeza steps up into the midfield with Malaba taking her place at the center of defense. Mofokeng and Mazou will provide the width in, as I mentioned, that rather narrow diamond shape. It's a shape that Coach Tabiso Mofokeng has used quite often, and maybe a formation that he needs to change. But Spiwe Mkonza,
you spoke about the diamond in the midfield, very important, Ray. But what's important is how to create balance during the moment of possession and how to progress to the second, third. But the third one is organization of the team out of ball possession. So they're going to press narrow, but what's important is on the wide areas. They're going to have the overload, Mazue Muloi on the side, obviously, Mpukeng Nompatie, to try to block TUT from using, because TUT are using more of the crossing principle. So the overload on the side is they're going to rely on making sure that TUT doesn't get the space or occupy the space on the wide areas. But the narrow in the midfield, the narrow diamond in the midfield is to box TUT inside the center.
I did mention the woes of Tsunami Queens, but it has to be said before I say that, Hlonopile Msezane, of course, the referee for this morning's game, just before we get to that second double header, but she is the referee for this encounter between TUT and Tsunami Queens. TUT have yet to taste defeat this season. 5 wins and 4 draws to their name, of course. Much in contrast to Tsunami Queens, who still search for their opening win. So a contrast of stories and a contrast of form. The question is that requires answering this afternoon is, will form be the determining factor? Can Tsunami Queens frustrate TUT? We saw a couple of weeks ago the Tsunami Queens team, although rooted to the bottom of the table, they managed to frustrate Bloem Celtic side at home. So we'll just have to wait and see if that they can do the same here against TUT. Of course, coach Simpiwe Dludlu from TUT did mention that Bloemfontein Celtic did stray from their game plan and maybe force the play just that little bit too much and force the issue, and maybe that's what brought about the issues for the Bloem Celtic side against Tsunami Queens. But that is that, and kickoff is underway here live from the UJ Soccer Stadium in Soweto, and TUT straight on the front foot trying to get a ball into the box, not quite managing to do that. Going all the way out to the near-hand touchline, of course. Knocked back, Vilakazi starting on her left-back position. It's a promising player, this Vilakazi player.
Definitely a promising player, offensive wing-back. But also we need to highlight the fact that Busin Dimeni, TUT marksman, today obviously is given a rest based on the injury that she had. She's recovering from the injury. I think she did a cyber scan during the week, so she's left with 2 weeks in her recovery, in a way of recovery. So you can see TUT in terms of the out-and-out number 9. It's Kumalo sitting up there, will be trying to hold up play for TUT, all the players to play around there. So Dimeni, important marksman for TUT. Let's see how it pans out today, because Kumalo brings in a different element in terms of the dynamics going forward.
These teams are in fact separated by a large margin of 17 points and 10 positions between these two sides, with Tsunami Queens yet to win and TUT profiting off a wonderful run of form. And will that momentum continue for the Red Army as they take on the side from Harry Smith, led by their coach Tabiso Mofokeng? It is conditions that these players might just be used to, coming from the Free State, of course. It's on the far side of the field now. TUT do tend to dominate the ball, especially in the opening exchanges of play. As I mentioned, they are a possession-based side. The goalkeeper does tend to get involved for TUT, of course. Mosima starting the attack all the way from the back. And it's definitely a philosophy that coach Simpiwe Dludlu does instruct his players to fulfill. But there's an early chance here, trying to get the cross in. There were 2 players there, Vilakazi, one of them on this near-hand touchline, having a sniff there, but the first taste of goal, the first opportunity going for TUT, but not exactly working out for the Red Army. TUT are in fact unbeaten in their last 5 outings, with 3 of those being stalemates. So of course they do have a good run of form and they are profiting off that, but the fact of the matter is those draws are draws at the end of the day, and they're on 3 points. So the importance is to turn those draws into much needed 3 points, and who knows, it can get them into that top 3 slot.
The coach spoke about the important element. He said during the preseason they were practicing obviously all different kinds of setup, but what they've been working on is the 4-2-3-1 setup, and players now are starting to understand, starting to gel, the integration of the new players. The team now is moving on a smooth phase. So what's important also, if you have a good preseason, Ray, it also helps you during the season. Yes, it might take time for the players to gel, but you can see the TUT, the consistency itself, the players' condition is in a level that is required in football.
The Tsunami Queens team do concede approximately 2.9, almost 3 goals per game. So the defensive frailties are definitely on show here for Tsunami Queens throughout this season. But as I did mention, they do tend to put in a brave performance against the bigger sides of the division. And they have come up against TUT a couple of times before. One of those I do remember last year, an 8-0 drumming from TUT. So it's definitely something to come back from, of course, from Tsunami Queens. But they are pushed back into their own half. And Vilakazi puts it in. Tsunami Queens scratching it away. Rather bewildered. Deers in the headlights, it has to be said. Tsunami Queens still struggling to establish some sort of a foothold in this game, but it does break away now. trying to look there for Mofokeng. Of course, there's two strikers playing up top for Tsunami Queens this afternoon. He does adopt the coach, that has to be said, Tabiso Mofokeng. The 4-4-2 formation, it is rather an orthodox formation. We don't really see these days two strikers playing alongside each other.
I think it depends on the role. Sometimes some teams use the two strikers, but obviously we say positive and negative attracts each other. So if you play similar strikers, obviously that means the dynamics won't be the way you want them to be. And I think if sometimes you have a holding strike and the striker that runs off the second striker. So it's also important also to look at your team dynamics. That's why you don't normally play the same or two strikers. It depends on the dynamics and obviously the principles of the team.
13 degrees Celsius here this morning. Rather chilly, as we can see that challenge in the air. Sethunya, of course, she has scored 2 goals this season, the young attacking midfielder. And she's supporting Sangweni and Kumalo in attack, but now Vilakazi with a chance here to square it. Tsunami Queens guarding that front post very well, but given away once again. And another chance for TUT. Trying to get in, ball into the box there, but not quite finding a lady in red. The Red Army's loss only came 6 weeks ago against, of course, the reigning champions, Mamelodi Sundowns. And Tsunami Queens will be hoping to change that statistic of a TUT. And it's been 5 games undefeated for the Red Army. But once again, Vilakazi getting involved so often here on this left-hand flank, Spibe Mkonza.
I spoke about this before the game, that you'll see more often Vilakazi will be more offensive wing back. The reason being, Mazibugo, when Vilakazi obviously takes the higher position, Mazibugo or Kwinana, they cover the vacated space, because the two double pivot in the midfield are meant to give the wing backs the freedom to attack without worrying about the space.
And although TUT find themselves in unfamiliar away conditions here this afternoon, their home record has proven to be that foundation, that crucial foundation for the TUT side. Not losing at home, 3 wins and 3 draws to their account, of course, this season. As it breaks now in the midfield for Sangweni, who drops a little bit deeper to help out, of course, now Mazibuko, putting it out long. And eventually intervened there by Mulaba, who comes in for Nzapeza. Nzapeza stepping up into the midfield. She has played in centre-back, in that centre-back position before. So it's a little bit of a adjust in the personnel here for Tsunami Queens, and it's something that you can expect. Nzapeza, of course, so diverse in her talent and what she brings to this Tsunami Queens team.
It's called multifunctional. Sometimes she plays centre-back, sometimes she plays holding midfielder. Today she's playing more advanced role, probably because the coach is looking at her technical potential. I mean, she's quality when it comes to standard situations, and also very intelligent. Her game awareness is in a good level. So I think the coach is looking at it. And today he wants to press TUT high, so he's using Zapesa, who's much more intelligent in that false nine position.
As we can see there, Victoria Gujamo, the centre midfielder, just out for Tsunami Queens, just hitting the turf. And Tabiso Mofokeng, of course, in dialogue with one of his troops there. And Gujamo going off now. Minor knock, but we do expect her back shortly in the centre of the park. Of course, playing with 2 midfielders in the centre, those wingers do tend to drop inwards and provide support in the centre of the park. And probably the intention is to flood the centre of the pitch and not allow TUT to play through them and break through the lines, the defensive lines that the Tsunami Queens have set up. And sometimes they have proven to be a defensively solid team. We saw that against Bloem Celtic. They do have the capability to frustrate these bigger names and bigger players. But Kumalo and Sangweni will be looking to change all of that and potentially get their names on the score sheet. I did mention there's been 28 goals between these two teams, and 25 of those goals have gone in favor of TUT. So if I'm Kumalo or Sangweni or Miss Sethunya, you'll be definitely licking your lips at the prospect of potentially knocking up a couple of goals here this afternoon. But TUT, of course, biding their time and stringing the passes together first of all, and getting a taste of what this Tsunami Queens have to offer, and maybe Spirim Konza potentially tire them out in their possession-based style, wait for those opportunities before they choose to pounce.
It's also when you understand what's the essence of keeping ball position. Sometimes I always say that you keep position for the sake of keeping position.
But Vilakazi now once again puts it in. It might fall to Kumalo. Tsunami Queens survive. And now come away with it on this near-hand touchline, Mokoena.
I was saying, Ray, let's look at this cross. You'll see Vilakazi gives an outlet, an option on the wide areas. Kumalo should have finished there. You can see the confidence from her side. Yes, she's coming into that central role, but I see a bit of lack of confidence. She should have terminated in that situation because I think she was unchallenged. She needed to terminate. Maybe confidence factor.
But it's given away, and Tsunami Queens might just have the chance, and a shot on goal. Last gasp tackle there from Mabatle after giving the ball away there. Lebogang Mabatle correcting her mistake and intervening there. And Mofo King maybe thought she had too much time at
in that era. You won't have that too much time. Remember, Mabatle gave the ball away. She was rushing. She hurried to make sure that she make that dispossession. And you could see that Mabatle thought she had enough time to pick a spot. But now, already the setup back, the mindset says, I don't want to cause a mistake, or I've already given the ball position away. That is why you saw Mabatle flying into that tackle, a very good tackle.
Before we come to you, Tuli, just this corner being taken, of course, by Mofo King. Almost a perfect chance for the young striker. Might just have cold feet here early on in this encounter as the ball comes in, and it does show that Tsunami Queens do have the ability, although they find themselves rock bottom. When the ball falls in the box, Mofo King and Mokoena do have the chances to get the lead. Tuli Mia.
Asibonge kakhulu ke ereke sisho sithi ke siphansi ke la eSoweto UJ Stadium ke la kudlala khona ke imidlalo yayo ke iHWBSL Super League njengoba ke sazi ukuthi ke ngempela sonto ke edlule ayikho ke imidlalo ke ebeyikhona kodwa ke namhlanje ke sibuyile sibone nje lo mnyakazo awayo ke lapha ke iTsunami Queens uyena ke umphathiya olidla ngesithende kodwa ke isithende sakhe asiyi indawo yabuya manje ke lapha ke TUT Jombo Mugqa weCenter ke lapha ke uQuinana oyiphasa ke ekamnandi ofuna ke yena lapha nomhle sangweni onompempe ke nangekhuza othi alibeke phansi ke ivola ke kube ke i-free kick eqondene nje ngqo namapali ke ayo ke lapha iTsunami Queens nanke lapha ke usangweni ke efaka lapha ke eboxini efuna ke unombulelo Khumalo base ke bemdlala kabi ke uKhumalo ke asibone nje le free kick. Baningi ke abadlali ke bayo ke iTUT phezukwane le bhola ngibona ke no Vivo odlala ke ngonyawo ke elesinxele okhona ke futhi ke lapha uKatleko oQuinana bayishiya ke kuyena ke lapha ke uTsekhofaso umuhlukhelwa naye ke lapha ke uMazibuko asibone ke beyiphakamisa kodwa ephuma ke kude ke namapali yabona ke la kulo mdlalo ngempela ke kudlala ke amaqembu enhloso ke ngempela ke zihlukene ngoba ke iTUT iza ke kulomdlalo izinto zawo zihamba kahle badlale ke 5 games abengadliwa emdlalweni nje wabo ke ogcina ke banqobe ke ngo-1-0 beshaya yona iUJ ke edlala ke kuyona ke lenkundla okuyikhaya layo njengoba ke igoli ke lashawa ke uyena ke unomhle osangweni kanti ke ngapha ke iTsunami Queens bahlezi ke lapha ke emsileni iwina bayazi kule season uyabona ke emidlalweni ke eyishumi asebeyidlalile banama lose awu8 ama draw amabili lokho ke kubanikeza ke u2 points ingakho ke bezithola ke belapha ke emsileni ozobona nje ukuthi ke nangemidlalo yesizini ke edlule ukuthi ke iTUT ehlezi ke izenzela ke kule qembu ke layo ke iTsunami ngoba ke iTsunami ayikaze ke inqobe kuyona ke lapha ke iTUT namhlanje ke bahlangana ke okwesihlanu 5 times uyabona ke lapha ngesizini ka 2019 2020 iTUT yanqoba ke ngo-7-2 idlala ke ekhaya kwase kuthi ke ekuhambeni omdlalo ke we-second round yanqoba ke ngo-6-1 ngesizini edlule 2020 2021 iTUT futhi ke yaphinda yashaya iTsunami ngo-8-0 ekhaya base ke beyishaya futhi ke ngo-4-0 ekuhambeni. Lokho kuyakutshela ukuthi TUT emidlalweni nje emine abayidlale ke nayo ke laphana ke i-Tsunami Queens bashaye ke amagoli awu-25 base ke bengenelwa ke amane. Lokho kuyakutshela Dr. Mnandi ukuthi i-TUT ine-upper hand kulo mdlalo njengoba namanje behlasela ke uyena ke laphana ke Sangweni base ke bemlahla phansi. Ibalo nezinamba ziyakutshela ukuthi i-TUT iyona engahle inqobe lo mdlalo kodwa ke asazi okuzokwenzeka osukwini lanamhlanje.
Ngithanda indlela umqeqeshi uSizwa ikhuluma ngayo ukuthi akafuni ukwenza iphuthe lenziwe yiCeltics. iCeltics mangakukhumbula emavikini amabili andlulile Julie bebathe bazoshaya amagoli awu-10 kuTsunami but ibhola angeke ulijaje based on ubheke ama results. So iTsunami yabamangaza kakhulu. So uSizwe uthi no, si humble enough to make to
goalkeeper nangu ke cisha ke enza ke iphutha adinewo okabayi kodwa ke ibhola ke base ke belikhiphela ke ngaphandle kuthiwa ke alibuye libekwa ke laphana ke kuyikhona flag kuthiwa ke akube ke ikhona yesibili yayo ke la i-TUT. Asibone ke goalkeeper ngoba ke ngathi unokutatazela yena ke udinewo okabayi bafuna ke ukuyidlala kodwa ke bayiphakamisa ke ifuna ke laphana ke amakhanda yabeqa ke bonke iphumela ke ngaphandle.
Bengisasho Thuli ngithi uSizwe ukhuluma into ebaluleke kakhulu wenze grounding. Yes amaphepha ngasho into ayisho mara thina umsebenzi so wenze grounding but upaya i-tribute to i-preseason yakhe. I-preseason yakhe bemnandi kakhulu hence i-team yakhe slowly iyajela kancane kancane.
Miss Sithunya waphasela izitha yabuya ke iyahlangabeza ke emuva futhi ke laphana ke i-TUT yabona ke namhlanje umqeqeshi ke ngapha ke uThabiso Omufukeng ozenzile ke inguquko njengoba ke esabheke ukuthi ke bathole ke u3 points wokuqala ke kule season. Ozoqaphela ke namhlanje ukuthi ke uZweni okuwumdlalo wabo obaluleke kakhulu owenza ukuthi i-team idlale namhlanje umdlalo oqala ke benchini base ke bebeka lapha uKarabo Mfukeng onemidlalo nje emncane egameni lakhe ngoba njalo yena iwe udlala ke njengane sub bamsebenzisa njengane sub isikhathi esiningi kodwa namhlanje umdlalo ke uqalile uMfukeng.
Mongabheka abadlali bakhe kakhulu most of them mina ngithi ba multifunctional. Namhlanje lawo baba lo Mfukeng unza pesa yena namhlanje udlala i-role different Julie udlala as attacking midfielder. Normally she's a defensive player so it shows ukuthi ama player amaningi eTsunami are multifunctional because sibona ushintsho olukhulu kwabadlali. Umlaba namhlanje udlala i-center back unza pesa hence ngishilo ngithi udlala i-attacking midfielder. uGujamo uhleli ku-defensive midfielder so it speaks to ukuthi I know abadlali bakhe ba multifunctional.
Throw in kuthiwa ke ayiphoso ke iyona ke i-Tsunami Queens. TUT ke nayo ke ize ke kulomdlalo umgadlwayo esezingeni eliphezulu okwashayela amagoli namhlanje ke ubusisiwe indimeni ke akekho ngoba ke oshilo komqeqeshi ukuthi ke ulimele engakho ke namhlanje ke engekho ke enkundleni ngoba ngesikhathi ke bedlala ke ne-UJ umdlalo wawuqala awangawuqeda namhlanje ke akekho nhlobo sobona ke ukuthi ke lolo shintsho luzoyenze njani ke iyona ke Tshwane University of Technology kodwa ke asibheke ke lekhona eyakhe lapha uMatsidiso umphathiya onamagoli amabili kule season. Umphathiya uyayiphakamisa kodwa vimba ngekhanda ke laphana ke Sithunya bayabuya futhi ke ngakwesokunxele ke laphana ke libuhange amuloyi ayifake eboxini bafuna uMfukeng kodwa ke ibhola ke base nje belelusa belikhiphela ke ngaphandle kodwa ke alibuye ke kuzoba ke iyona ke i-goal kick enikezwa ke iqembu le-TUT.
Ukhuluma okubalekile Thuli abaqeqeshi manje ngithanda indlela abasanalanga lonke bazilungisa nabo baqeqeshi in terms of understanding ama modern trends. I mean kule 2 weeks there bebayithole a break they used it for obviously to strengthen our teams to look at all the dynamics that they need to work on but also give our players remember abanye abadlali la Thuli bangena isikolo so abanye babhala ama exams so umqeqeshi bayasho ukuthi no basifanika ile break isize kakhulu abanye babhala ama exam abalimele bakhona ukurecover so it shows unabaqeqeshi sabay understand. Remember ukuthi ngasho last time ngathi ibhola manje science ayisefuse kakhulu ebholweni.
Ohlezi phansi ke laphana ke uCaptain awalo ke iqembu ke layo ke i-TUT Precious Sishweni 35 years i-defender enesipiliyoni leli kodwa ke naye ke isizini akayiqalanga ngoba ube nama injuries manje ke ubuyile uhola ke iqembu laphana ke emuva njengoba ke simbona ke ephinda futhi ethinteka ke bangena ke abosizo ke lokuqala ke bazombheka yena ke laphana ke usishweni kodwa nje Dr Mnandi uma ungabheka ngempela le qembu layo ke la Tsunami Queens emidlalweni nje eyishumi le asebeyidlalile namhlanje badlala umdlalo ka11 bayavuza emuva uyabona ukuthi njengoba usho ukuthi namhlanje bashintshile omulabo badlala ama center back baphushonza pesa bazama ukulungisa idefense ngoba emidlalweni eyishumi badedele 29 goals.
Umqeqeshi ukhuluma into ebalulekile ukuthi it's all linked to preparation yawo indlela abaprepare ngayo before ama games wabo is always been affected by ama dynamics engesa wakhuluma la but into important ukuthi is working with the situation anayo umqeqeshi uyazama ukuthi abonise abadlali indlela afanele badlale ngayo and isazothatha isikhathi ngeke kube lula even last season iTsunami struggled but again umqeqeshi kungconywana kule season because bazamile nokustrengthena ne team ngabadlali abasha.
20 minutes ebhodini iscore ke sisamile not Tshwane University of Technology and not iTsunami Queens.
And 20 minutes have come and gone by. Still scoreless here in this encounter. Tsunami Queens holding on tight. And it has to be said, TUT slightly flat-footed in their approach, and Tsunami Queens have had the odd expedition into the box, and they have had their fair share of opportunities now, but it's TUT now is looking for Kumalo. Nice little run there in behind the number 36, well marshaled of course there by Mokoena. And now a throwing opportunity from Vilakazi. She's been so active on this left hand flank. Another long throw, this time short. It does go to Motlogelwa. And Tsunami Queens scratch it out. Of course, TUT's past wins against Tsunami Queens have all been in the form of one-sided thrashings that include a 7-2, 6-1 and an 8-0, all going in the favor of the ladies from the capital. So Tsunami Queens will be looking to rewrite that script between these two teams. And TUT will be looking to continue that. I've been paying close attention to Simpiwe Dlulu. And one thing that they do tend to focus on, Spiwe Mkonza, is the fact that whenever they lose the ball, she shouts to them, get it back, get it back. The importance of winning that ball back as soon as you lose that in possession. It's vitally important for this TUT team, and it's definitely a major part of their success.
We say prevention is better than cure. Immediately upon losing ball position, your organization, your structure protects you. We call it a rest defense. So I think what the center backs is Shweni and Mambate at the back, you could see immediately they lose the ball, they're shouting for organization to make sure that the team doesn't get caught numerically. So I think if you look at Tsunami, vice versa, they resort on a low block, especially out of ball possession. Why? It is because they know that numerical superiority will help them.
And our shot goes in, but it's well taken from Kabai. Of course, the keeper that came in 2 weeks ago thanks to a rather devastating injury to Botemelo Malotsi. But Kabai there keeping a close eye on it, but TUT just might be in here. And there we go, it's 1-0 for the ladies from the capital, in behind and making no mistake in front of goal. It was coming and threaded through almost out of nothing for Kumalo.
How do you allow the ball to bounce behind your defense? I mean, you look at Tsunami's mistake, Umlaba in that situation, allow the ball to bounce behind it. And this is a confidence booster goal for Kumalo. You could see she started slow, but this goal is going to boost her, because I can see she's afraid even to call for the ball. But this goal is going to help her in terms of the confidence. A good finish. Also being aware where the keeper was. Good finish from Kumalo.
And despite the fight that Tsunami Queens have put up here in the opening 20 or so minutes, it's TUT that have broken the deadlock. And it's Kumalo, of course, the talisman for this TUT side, who breaks that deadlock in some style. It has to be said, she does operate on the shoulder of that final defender and just waits for her chance to break beyond that defense. And Dineo Kabai, no chance for her whatsoever. But Tsunami Queens looking for their response here, but it's pulled back now. And they've committed some numbers forward, and once again in behind It's Kumalo. But this time the Tsunami Queens keep a close eye on her. And again, hoof it upfield, but give the ball away and allow TUT to restructure their attacks. Tsunami Queens not really holding on to the ball here, as they should, as it looks for Vilakazi, not quite finding Vilakazi. But it's one back in the midfield now. Now back to Vilakazi, almost with a lovely silky touch, but just running out of room there. Of course, Tsunami Queens hailing from Harry Smith. It is a new club, founded in the year of 2016, so they are new to the HWBSL Super League, and they did survive the previous season in 14th position. So it just shows you, Spiro and Konza, it can be done. They can prove to bring about their own survival in the HWBSL Super League.
Yes, I spoke about the important things. Also being resourced as a team, obviously getting new players. Obviously, I like the fact that the coach Tabizon Pukeng has been working. Obviously, I would say limited budget, because he says he needs to strengthen the team. His preparation is affected sometimes by the fact that the players don't normally come to training all the time. So when he prepares the team, it's a bit of struggle, because he doesn't have the actual level of the core of the team sometimes. But these are the situations that he needs to work on. Probably with time, Tsunami is going to improve on those elements.
But now once again a throw-in opportunity here for Tsunami Queens. Mofokeng looking for Malloy. He tried to knot it in behind, but nothing doing. Sheshweni wins it for TUT. Tsunami Queens seem to have lacking some numbers there in the midfield, as Vilakazi has some space here, and they look for her once again. Almost operating, as you mentioned, Spirim Konza, as a left winger, not so much as a left back. But Tsunami Queens building now from deep. Malloy trying to obscure the view there of Sheshweni, but not managing to do so. And the latest meeting did take place towards the end of October. And once again, I did mention that 4-0 victory going in favor of TUT. Mpatsia, the striker for Tsunami Queens, did miss a penalty towards the end of that game. So they have failed to score against this TUT side in a number of occasions, as Mofokeng lines up for yet again another throw-in. Looking for the likes of Malloy and Mofokeng. Does almost fall there. Just the bounce just puts Mofokeng off. Tries to work some space, Kujamo. And wins a corner for Tsunami Queens. Very good work there from the young midfielder. She hit the turf earlier on with a minor knock, but she's right back in the heart in the midfield. And we thought before the game that Nzapeza was going to step up into that defensive midfielder role, but Nzapeza has now shifted that little bit forwards, and Gujamo now has the role to drop back slightly in the midfield and provide support for her defenders in arms. But as a corner opportunity here for Tsunami Queens just before the half hour, it's looped in almost, hanged in the air, and maybe just gave the TUT defense a little bit longer to recuperate and clear their lines, as it's helped out there from Mulaba. Of course, making her third start in the row for Tsunami Queens. Once again, Mofokeng operating on this right-hand flank. And she puts it in. TUT, it has to be said, it hasn't been their best showing so far in the opening half an hour, but nonetheless, the important thing is that the statistic, the most important stat, is that they are leading the scoreboard 1-0.
They have been settled in terms of dominance itself, because it's in patches, it's not consistent. So you can see there's an element of confidence factor that they need to work on, because they try to progress the ball into the second third between Pakatuwa Mazibu and Quinana, but sometimes they lose concentration at the wrong time because of the pressing from Tsunami. Immediately the ball goes into the center because of the diamond shape that Tsunami is using. That is why that overpopulation in the midfield causes TUT to lose the ball.
Attempted shot there from Malloy, rather ambitious, it has to be said. And it gives a chance for TUT to come once more and attack once again, but Tsunami Queens do tend to press quite a bit, and it's a philosophy that they do adopt, but maybe a philosophy that might not prove to be that effective as when you press and you don't press as a team, you can allow those defensive holes to appear.
It's in two folds, Ray. It has to be synchronized, but also the clarity in whether you are doing a positional press or an aggressive press. If it's positional press, it's about players shifting into their positions. But aggressive press, without worrying about whether the man can beat you, can the team play out of the pressure? So TUT needs to be clear when it comes to their pressing, because you need to clarify, yes, but it has to be done synchronized.
Vilakazi looks to whip it in, and she does that. The Tsunami Queens survive once more. Vilakazi looks ever so dangerous. And it's cleared up field once again. But TUT ever so calm at the back, of course, there from Mabatle. The score is currently 1-0, ladies and gentlemen, in favor of the side from the capital, TUT, leading it 1-0 here from UJ Soccer Stadium.
Uyabona ke le goli ke elgenelwa ke iyona ke la iTsunami Queens igoli ke elika 30 njengoba ke ngempela ke kunzima ukuthi ke ba vale ke laphana ke emuva esizini yonke awukho ke umdlalo ke la bengangenelwanga khona ke igoli abayo ke laphana ke iTsunami Queens njengoba ke eshake igoli ke lakhe lokuqala ke kulesizini yena ke unombulelo okhumalo entombazane ke yalaphana ke eNelspruit amabhola nje bayabalahla ke abayo ke la iTsunami Queens yabona ke izolo emidlalo ke idlaliwe ke ngaphansi ke kwayo ke HWBSL Super League njengoba ke beyimthathu emidlalo iDurban Ladies iqembu ke laseThekwini linqobe ke ngo5-1 lishake iGolden Ladies nayo futhi ke donsa ke kanzima njengoba ke sisho ukuthi ke neTsunami ke idonsa ke kanzima bomabili ke lamaqembu awanayo ke iwini ke kule season njengoba iGolden Ladies nayo ke beyishaye ke ngo5-1 eshawa ke iyona ke iDurban Ladies bese kwathi ke ifirst touch ane Bloemfontein Celtic badlala ke idraw oka not City Lets ane ma Indies nayo futhi ke eyenza kahle ke ima Indies enqobe ke ngo2-1 ke ishaya ke iyona ke iCity Lets uzokhumbula ke ukuthi ke iCity Lets ebiya ke kulomdlalo ke ebeyihambela ke phezulu ngoba banqobe ke ngo1-0 beshake iyona ke iTsunami elona ke le goli aleli ke engilishoyo ukuthi ke elokuqala ke lakhe ke ukhumalo onombulelo ke omgadli ekulona ke iqembu ke layo ke iTUT ohlezi phansi uKarabo Mufukeng njengoba ke bephumele ke naye ke laphana ke ngaphandle bathola ke ifree kick abayo ke laphana ke iTsunami Queens asibone nje ukuthi ke bazoyenza njani ke le free kick abayo ke laphana ke iTsunami unzapesa ophezkwalo ke le bhola ke njengoba ke liphakamisa ke lifuna amakhanda lapha ekhanda ke lakhe ke umpathiya ke lase ke liphelela ke enyaweni asibone futhi Gujamo oyayiphasa Gujamo kodwa ke ibhola ke lase ke liphelela ke ezandleni ke zika goalkeeper awe TUT Omosimo onama clean sheets amathathu kule season.
iTsunami needs to pay attention ukuthi TUT defensively to the abekho confident abamnandanga kahle emuva in terms of ukuyidlala kunamaphutha amaningi, so if high press yabo it synchronize njengoba ngishilo and ba set up ama traps wabo to make sure ukuthi any passing lane ba set up ama traps they're going to get something out of TUT, because I see a lot of amaphutha ku set up two pairing center backs TUT based on when they start trying to start ibhola ngasemuva. So iTsunami needs to set up ama passing lane traps wabo kahle bamele ama moments are right ukuthi bakhona ukupressa kahle.
Bafuna manje ke uVivo umdlali ke onesipiliyoni ke kunabo bonke ke la enkundleni ngoba ke unama caps 139 ke ayo ke i-national team left back ke yayo ke iTUT bayiqala ke laphana ke emuva kuyena ke la uMosimo 29 years owase liphalale eLimpopo bayalungisa manje ke laphana ke esingise center angakwesokudla ke iyona ke laphana ke iTsunami Queens uyabona ke unzapesa uyena ke umdlali obalekile la kule qembu Dr Mnandi unamagoli amane mangabe ke uNzapesa underperforma noma izinto zingamvumi enkundleni kuyabonakala kule qembu layo ke iTsunami njengamanje bamphushile ukuthi akathi ukusondela empalini ukuze ezozama ukuthi athole amagoli
kusho ukuthi uyophethe marinate link up iplay yabo anyway makadlala emuva you could see ukuthi she's vocal presence yakhe is felt and ama player he is a leader by Beth kahle kahle mawambheka kahle so namhlanje bamdlalisa I role different which is an attacking midfielder you can see ukuthi uyamthemba manje umqeqeshi but nami ngiyasho ukuthi nalamagoli awa4 ayikorile you can see technically ayumnandi blind
yalungisa manje ke esingisesenthe kodwa ke jabulile obuya nalo ke base ke bemdlala kabi kuthiwa ke akube ke ibhola ke elayo ke iTUT kaTleko Khwinana 26 years intombazane ke yase Hammanskraal oyena lo kade ejika lapha ke kamnandi base ke bembamba kanti ke unompempe ke ubhekile nje yonke ke into awuzokhumbula ke masihlehla nje kancane ke ngesizini edlule ukuthi iTUT eyona ke eyaqeda ke ihlezi ke ku number 2 ngemuva ke kwayo ke laphana ke iSundowns kwilog yaqeda ke ina 59 points ngesikhathi iSundowns ke inqoba ke ileague ngo 73 points kule season ke izinto zithanda ukuthi singayivumi kahle iTUT iqale isizini amawini bengawini bewina abadlali draw kodwa manje uyabona ukuthi umgqiqo wabo bayawubamba badlale manje 5 games abadliwa nangomunye bahamba ke phambili uyabona ukuthi ke umgqiqo wabo wangesizini edlule kancane manje ke umqeqeshi la uSibiya osewubambile ukuthi ke baqhubeke la begcine khona kuyona ke iHollywood
uyibambishisa uSibiya because sebasebenzile ngayonke into befuna ukusebenza ngayo in terms of ama dynamics namaphutha abebayenza before so ngithanda indlela ibeka ngayo ukuthi no nayo le formation abasebayidlala manje information abasebenze kakhulu ku preseason ukuthi ama player understand but they will never use one formation they will use 4-3-3 they will use i4-2-3-1 so ama players ayigraspile ayibambile manje indlela ukuthi noma ishisa sishintsha indlela yokudlala ama player will adapt very easily
uyabona ke mawubheka nje iTsunami Queens ngesizini edlule njengoba ke nakhona bengivula kwembeswa beqede ke isizini ke bese emsileni behlezi ke ku number 14 njengoba ke beno 2 points ngesizini edlule nakhona ke bawina nje imidlalo ke yabambili base ke bedlala ke ama draw amathathu bashaba nje imidlalo yonke ayu21 kuleyo mdlalo yonke abayidlala bangenelwa amagoli awu87 uyabona nje ukuthi ezinto ke ngempela ke azihambi kahle ke kule qembu layo ke laphana ke iTsunami Queens lo 87 goals abawudedela o87 Sundowns eyashaya ke ngesikhathi ke ithatha ke ileague eyona ke iTsunami Queens uyabona ke ukuthi ke nangesizini edlule iziko ezinkulu ngempela akade beyithola njengoba ngishilo ukuthi TUT yabashaya ngo8-0 HWBSL nayo yabafaka amagoli awu7 ngesikhathi ke ibadla ke 7-0 neSundowns yafike ke yashaya 8 asibone nje ithuba lopha kodwa lephakeme iflag lephakeme ke iflag ngale ke ngaphesha ke kwenkundla kuthiwa ke sekukhona ke iOffside offside number 4 ke yayo ke la TUT kodwa ke bese egangile ke ngebhola ke laphana ke uTsegafatso omohlukelwa ngalena ke ngakwesokudla amolaba uyalisusa ke ibhola ke laphana ke emuva amolaba ke center back enesipiliyoni ke kule qembu naba ke beyidlala ke naye ke laphana ke uDinewo Kabayi Mpatsiya ebhola lika Mpatsiya uyalivimba nje ekalula ke lapha pressure sisishweni waseke ebeka phansi ke manje ke la umfukenge ophasa ke la ngekho khona umuntu ke wangakubo amfukenge angazi ke ngoba ke imbala nje eqamile red kuyona ke laphana ke iTUT kanti bona ba blue konke nje kusobala ubheka isithende simnandi waselibeka phansi kamnandi ngesifuba futhi lapha uMazibuko 29 years iyadlula ke ibhola ke bafuna ke laphana ke sethunya oyavimba emuva ovimba ke lapha Ntabelengi emazowe omunye futhi ke umdlali ke onesipiliyoni kule qembu nangu goalkeeper ezenzela uthi awuthi ngibezwe ukuthi ke banjani ke laphana ke abagadli ke bayo ke iTsunami Queens uyazethemba uMosima azethemba ke kakhulu ayena ke laphana ke Dikgopa uMosima kuthiwa ke akube ke i-good kick ezothathwa ke uyena ke laphana ke uDinewo Okabayi onozinti ke wayo ke iTsunami Queens bathatha nje isikhathi sabo ngazofunga ukuthi ke iyawina iTsunami kodwa ke benza nje kancane asibone futhi ke ukuthi bazolisusa ke kanjani ke leli bhola asibone ke base ke belisusa ke banikeza ke umfukenge uyavimba uvivo hayi handball leya futhi nje ulibambe ngamabomu angazi ukuthi uNompepe kungane ngalikhipha ikhadi eliyelo
unenhlanhla uGujamo lapha bekufanele ngalithola ikhadi because intention bengasukudlala bekabona ukuthi uyamshiya lapha that's why afaka isandla unenhlanhla ukuthi uNompempe hayi umxolele lapha
athi sibone ke le free kick awuvivo uyalishiya naye futhi ke balishiyela ke yena ke uMotlugelwa kokhona ke naye ke laphana ke uDinewo Ramowakala base ke beyidlala inhle ke manje kovivo khona lapha sebenza ugoalkeeper bisetshenziwe le Africa uyayibona ukuthi ke isuka ke lapha ejimini
ezasejimini usicedile Thulu ayinile kahle look at ikombo interplayer abayidlalayo and the essence is to find uVilakazi unlucky lapho uKabayi uyifundile le situation ekhona futhi eyayo ke iTUT ehamba phambili ke ngegoli elilodwa eqandeni nabo bayiphakamisa badefenda ke kahle kakhulu ke laphana ke oGujamo kusele nje 5 minutes ukuthi ke siye ke khefini elandela ke ngemuva ke iyona ke iTsunami Queens Ray.
And with 5 or so minutes to go, TUT still have that slender advantage, but they'll be hoping to add to that lead. Just a couple of moments ago, Kabai had her wits about her. And lucky enough for the keeper, she was on her toes to sniff out that wonderful free kick maneuver by TUT. Rather taken aback by that Tsunami Queens, it has to be said. Slight adjustment to the orthodox free kick, but it's now all the way at the back for Mosima. Ever so comfortable with the ball at her feet. And that seems to be the story of all these TUT players, is that possession-based players so comfortable with the ball at their feet, but surely now a chance for them to make it two. And looking for the pass. Intervene there. And you don't usually see that every day. The referee not doing something there, but I saw that
she was indecisive in that situation. She was not sure whether to play across or to go direct at the shot. That is why it's resulted in hitting a defender. But again, in those areas, players need to take decisive decisions.
Another corner goes in from Vilakazi. This time she hangs it up and the header goes in. And it's a wonderful save from Kabai. The new goalkeeper for Tsunami Queens coming up with a wonderful save. And a towering header thanks to a well-worked corner from Vilakazi. Hanging it up that ever so slightly, a little bit more.
Save. It's a very good save from Kabai. I thought she was proactive in that situation, but poor defensive shape in terms of defending the standard situation by Tsunami. Yes, numbers are there, but they're not effective in terms of making sure that they pick up, whether they use zonal or pick up man-to-man. But again, proactive from Kabai has helped the situation to keep the ball out of the net.
And it has to be said, Nzapeza and Mpatsia are the main avenues of attack for Tsunami Queens. They've been rather anonymous in this game thus far, but Nzapeza now with the free kick from deep, the set-piece specialist for Tsunami Queens, as she looks to find some of her strike partners there in the back post, and they win it there. Chance maybe for Tsunami Queens. And Mokoena just losing out there. And it's those important moments, especially towards the end of the half, just before stoppage time, where you can change the outlook of a game. But Mokoena, just a heavy touch there and allowing the ball just to get away from her grasp. And TUT with Karabo. And a foul there. Sizwe Sabia definitely not in agreement with referee Msezane Hlepile. And now she is turning to her cards, and the yellow card does come out there. Early yellow card in the first half.
But I think the ref was influenced by the bench, because initially she was not going to give the yellow card to Gujamo, but I think because of the pressure from the bench, sometimes I always say the refs needs to be brave in situation like that. I thought Gujamo, the intention was not to play the ball. She played to Situnya, obviously aggressively with no intention to win the ball.
As TUT make their way forward once again, trying to thread a ball through there. Tsunami Queens using that low block to good effect. And despite country belief and league position, Tsunami Queens have let in fewer goals.
To sum up this half, Ray, I think with Tsunami, the wide overloads are very effective. They need to pay attention on what Villagas is doing on the other side, and obviously Ramoka for TUT. So the wide overloads can be effective. They need to sort out their defensive discipline with regards to dealing with the wide areas. But also what's important, they can never give TUT that penetration through the center. So the discipline defensively is very important.
And maybe here a final chance. Kabai is forced to come out, and she does clear it. And just sneaking over the head there of Sangweni. And just losing out there. But as I was saying, despite country belief and league position, Tsunami Queens have let in fewer goals than some of their relegation counterparts. But maybe a chance here for Kumalo. Just evading her grasp there.
With TUT, it's a case of rushing things. They need to be patient in ball position. If the avenue is not open, you try to be patient enough to try to recirculate the ball. Remember, you're looking for that pre-planned space. So TUT, if they can find the time or patience in position, there are times where the block will make sure that they don't find the penetration. So there's nothing wrong with circulating the ball, but the speed of how they attack will also be critical in the second half.
Forced backwards now is Molaba. And Tsunami Queens do boast a better goal difference than both City Lads and Durban Ladies, of course, in that relegation zone. So that goal difference statistic might just prove to be the difference come the end of the season. But a thrown opportunity once again for Mofokeng. Perhaps a final chance with a long throw here for Tsunami Queens to potentially claw their way back into this encounter. But so far, it's good enough from TUT. It's professional. And thus far, that 1-0 advantage has proven to be enough. But it has to be said, Tsunami Queens aren't exactly providing those threats and giving TUT a rather comfortable afternoon here in Soweto. But that is that, ladies and gentlemen. That brings an end to your first half's action. And it's been all TUT, whether that be possession and goals. And it's the Kumalo, the striker for TUT, that has given the advantage to the ladies from the capital. And Tsunami Queens find themselves in a familiar position with a goal down from half-time. So they have it all to do in that second half. Just a confirmation of your score there. TUT taking it out 1-0. Tsunami Queens allowing TUT to play around them and allowing TUT to establish a comfort zone. And Tsunami Queens have it all to do in that second half with 45 minutes still to go. Let's just have a glance at the statistics of the first half. 5 shots at goal for the Tshwane-based team. Tsunami Queens only 1, and 4 of those have been on target for TUT. 62% of the ball has been dominated by the ladies from the capital. The Red Army have been offside 4 occasions, so it has to be said to TUT have broken free a couple of times and the opportunities are there in abundance. But to you now, Visiwe on the sideline.
Thank you so much to Ray Kuhn as well as the rest of our commentary team for taking us through the first 45. And that's basically how it looks after 45 minutes of action out here at the UJ Soweto Soccer Stadium. It is TUT that lead by a 1-0, finding that opening goal and drawing first blood for the students. It was, of course, Okumalo in the 23rd minute. But for Tsunami Queens, they will be asking themselves a lot of questions, particularly from a defensive point of view, allowing that ball to bounce behind the defense to let that go in by Okumalo. And just in terms of how they've been defending in this encounter. We've also seen Tsunami Queens get the odd opportunity to try and find the back of the net and an equalizer for them, but not really being lethal in terms of those opportunities. So going into this break, ngiyacabanga ukuthi ucoach uzokhuluma nabo, ucoach Mufukenge, ukuthi kumele baqinise kakhulu uma bathola lamathuba lawa in front of goal. But of course, a coach like Hisbia, the co-coach of TUT, will be the happier of the two coaches going into this halftime break. And for Tsunami Queens, they have it all to do if they're looking to register another point in the league this season in finding a draw, or of course in trying to get there. Impossible, it seems, at the moment in finding their first 3 points in the season. Well, for now we do take you through to an ad break, and then we have some halftime analysis from the team in studio.
ngiphuphe ngivuka ngekusasa lami egqamile.
Really? Howuze nazo?
You guys ready? Please, don't practice here.
And a 1, 2, 3.
The youth of 76 took a stand in fighting yesterday's struggles.
So ufuna ungitshela ukuthi yonke lento engiyenzile ngiyenzela mahala?
It's your turn.
Don't look at things on the surface, but also align your passion to your academic qualifications.
Stay positive, motivated, focused, and your determination will pay off.
Jigizinto.
Guys. Yes.
So
Hashtag shape your future.
Okay, Chummies, get up in lunch.
Black and the black, my friend. 15, as long as the regenerate.
Love sports? Well, you're sure to love Wednesdays as well.
So throughout these 60 minutes, it truly is going to be epic.
Join Oliswa Zondo and Shampunizer as they dish it up for you. Get the juice, the 411. Get entertained and get to know your favorite athletes. Sport at 10. Live on SABC 1, Sport Channel on OpenView 124, SABC DTT, and on Telkom 1.
After 45 minutes of play at the UJ Stadium in the Soweto campus, it is the Tshwane University of Technology that are in the lead. 1-0 against Tsunami Queens. Okumalo finding the back of the net. I'm Olizondo, still joined by Usimpiwe Dludu, no Gloria Brown. A very interesting 45 minutes. We thought we'd be seeing an avalanche of goals, but it seems like Tsunami Queens has kind of held their own.
They've held their own. I also think the reason for that is that TUT is a bit slower right now. They were only starting to warm up closer to the goal and after the goal, because also TUT, they started with 4 at the back. It was 4-5-1. Then they pushed Sangweni in to make it 2-0 Then Vilagazi is now on the left, so they're playing with wing backs now. They've gone to 3-5-2. Hence, they were able to get that goal because now they are stretching Tsunami Queens.
And although we prediction you were both in agreement that TUT would be walking away with the victory, are you impressed with how Tsunami Queens has shaped up in these 45 minutes?
Definitely, because one thing that we are aware of the fact that is defensively, they've always been caught wanting. And we've seen a TUT side really try to penetrate, get the ball behind the defenders, because you're looking at almost every move that they're taking, that's TUT, either results in a shot on target or we're seeing that the shot ended up as a goal. But you got to look at the collective effort defensively by Tsunami Queen, where they're closing the spaces and making sure there's cover, enough cover. So if it is not Mazoe going for the ball, it is Mukwena that is in support. But I've also been very impressed by Dineo Kabai in the goals. She's really been pretty solid, commanding her area and making sure she deflects all the attacks.
And we saw the attempts come in as early as the 10th minute in terms of Tsunami Queens, courtesy of Karabo Mofokeng. She really had a chance to make sure that they take the lead in this 10th minute.
Yeah, she really had a chance, and this is where Mabatle made a mistake, because she lost possession in her own box, not even in her own half, but in her own box, and in them trying to build up from the back. And she was lucky to be the same defender that comes in and blocks there. She had to redeem herself there.
Showing a lot of strength in that tackle, as well as Lebogang Mabatle. She realized that it was just a matter of seconds, and that's what makes the difference between an attacker and a defender. You just need a second of a lapse of concentration or to capitalize on a mistake, and that was an opportunity for Tsunami Queens to really to bang that ball in the back of the net, had it been done a lot quicker with a lot more purpose. But I think the slow thinking and not realizing that she had the opportunity to really get the ball in the back of the net, it just gave enough time to Lebogang to make sure she blocks that ball.
Yeah, and Gloria spoke about Ukabai, and we saw how important she was here with that critical save in that 22nd minute. But just a few seconds later, of course, Sabonu Khumalo scoring the goal.
This is where we saw TUT warming up. Situnya there combining well with Ukhumalo. And few seconds later, we were still looking at the highlights to say this was great combination in them. I mean, it's 22 minutes, 41 seconds when that happened, you know. And we were still saying this is how you'll see TUT piecing possession together, trying to go for it. And Utlo said, is that Miss Situnya with that pass?
Yeah.
Look at what happens next.
Yeah, but it's again. And now, interestingly, for TUT, they now have 10 different goal scorers. It was, of course, Nombulelo Khumalo who scored in the 22nd minute, making sure that the Red Army goes ahead 1-0.
Absolutely. But again, if you look at the defensive frailties, allowing that ball just to bounce in front of the defenders, just giving the team TUT the opportunity to score. We've got to really say that Tsunami Queens have got to learn from their mistakes. And I think the coach alluded to the fact that he's going to capitalize on the strengths of the opposition. And these defenders are very comfortable on the ball, but you got to then also make use of the forced errors. And TUT is smart enough to make sure they'll force you on the back foot and make use of those opportunities.
And now we saw the confidence of TUT growing in leaps and bounds. Vilakazi here should have done better, coach.
She should have done better, but also kudos to Ukabai coming out even with her feet to say, let me, kick this ball out, because this is the same Ukabai that had to come on against Durban Ladies when her teammates, the goalkeeper who was in goals, got injured. And she has been really outstanding for Tsunami Queens in making sure she's been the difference between TUT scoring a plethora of goals and them maintaining a 1-0.
I think for me, coach, one thing that I've seen in this match, I'm not sure if though you'll agree, it's the first time I see Nothando Vilakazi playing her role with great effect, which is as the wing-back, going forward with such confidence. Perhaps we're starting to see the Vilakazi of old, who used to skin defenders or take on players down the left-hand side, whipping the crosses. We haven't seen too much of the crosses, but she has the capable left foot, which gives the balance in TUT side. So Nothando Vilakazi using her wing play to great effect at this moment, causing problems. But again, let us look at Kolani, who's dishing those passes into those pockets to capitalize and make sure. So we're certainly seeing a Thando Vilakazi who could put in one of those good performances today. She started in the first 45.
Oh, and that's exactly what we definitely love to see. And of course, in terms of the latter stages of this first half, it really was all a TUT trying to get that second goal. But Siabona, the defense of the Tsunami Queens there with the Mukwena, such a critical block.
I think here Ms. Tunya was supposed to take a shot and score, but it has been a weakness so far. She's a passer. She creates a lot because here another player would have been selfish to run. Remember, she doesn't have the speed to be running it, and she was just trying to play that diagonal pass across to Ukumalo. And that's a lot that you see because she's playing on top of the triangle as a number 10, and she's been just balancing out, playing to Mutlukhelo, playing to Vilagazi, who's also overlapping. So I think if you look at TUT right now, and to also speak on what Gloria was saying, Uguti, the reason why we see the best of players is when the coaches understand each individual and place them in positions where they'll be great, they'll excel at that, and with the type of formation. Sundowns plays 3-5-2 because of the genetic makeup of his squad sub and the type of players. So kudos to the teams and the coaches making sure that the lineup ya corner is tailored for the type of players that are in there.
A player that really has been important in terms of the scoreline has been Ukabai, the goalkeeper for Tsunami Queens, here again in that 43rd minute, making a critical save, Gloria.
Yeah, but we also got to compliment the quality of that corner. The corner taken, rising ever so high above all the defenders. Vilagazi whipping it in, of course. We're speaking about this player. Taking it away from the goalkeeper, trying to draw her away. But this is an intelligent goalkeeper who says, no matter what you do, this is my area, I will dominate. And that is crucial for a goalkeeper. She stayed on the line, just giving herself maybe a step or two ahead to be able to follow that ball to her strong side, which is the right-hand side. But a big up to Dineo. She's really kept her team in the side, in the match. And they've also had opportunities to maybe get the ball in the back of the net.
And I mean, trailing 1-0, not too bad for Tsunami Queens. What do they do to make sure they get back into the match and salvage a draw or maybe even go on to win it?
TUT is playing with 3 at the back right now. Push up Mpatia and Mufukeng, because then it will be 3 versus 2. Whenever they win the ball, they have Nzapeza who's behind them. They can take that.
All right, well, the second half is about to ensue. Let's take you back to the UJ Stadium at the Soweto campus.
Asibonge ke kakhulu ke siphinde ke simamkele ke umbukeli ke ekhaya ke njengoba ke sithatha ke esombe ke esesibili ke la e-UJ Sports Stadium ke siye ekhefini besithi ke 1-0 ihamba phambili eqembu ke layo ke i-TUT igoli ke elivalelwe phakathi ke uyena ke unombulelo okhumalo siqalile ke isombe sesibili ke inguquko ke asikakaziboni njengoba ke besabuyile ke la okhwinana abadlali ke abadlala ke kahle kakhulu ke kulona ke iqembu elayo ke i-TUT laphana ke emuva njengoba ke beligada nje ibhola ukuthi ke aliphumele ke ngaphandle. Uyabona ke emawubheka ke ukuthi abadlali ke abashaya ke amagoli ke kulona ke iqembu ke layo ke i-TUT ngaphandle nje kwakhe ke undimeni ongekho ke namhlanje onamagoli ke ayisithupha khona ke umisi osethunya ke udlala ke laphana ke center onamagoli ke amabili bese kube khona ke ukoketho awutayilana ke naye futhi ke unamagoli ke amabili njengoba ke ubona ke umpatsiya la omdlalo nesipiliyoni naye ke futhi onamagoli amabili eqenjini ke layo ke la i-Tsunami Queens. Throw in kuthiwa ke abaphose abayo ke laphana ke i-TUT oyaliphosa ke lapha Dineo Ramawoka oyalixosha ke emuva ke lapha oMolaba akukho umuntu ke la elithumela ke khona ke yena ke oMolaba. Dr. Mnandi isombe sesibili siqalile ikuphi ke esingakulindela ke manje njengoba sibona ukuthi amaqembu enguquko awazenzile abuye njengoba ke enjalo
abuye kanjalo abaqeqeshi bafila ukuthi indlela abangagadla ngayo indlela abazodefenda ngayo ukuyikhuluma bayilungise from the dressing room, and then obviously after 10 minutes ye second half bazobona ukuthi kukuphi la fanele benze khona ushintsho ngakhona. But ngiyathemba ukuthi aba coach balungise lento engikhulume ngazo ihalf yokuqala mayiphela because Tsunami nje into important ukubheka le attacking with TUT and that will also do them umsebenzi omkhulu kakhulu but in terms of progress ebhola to the second third to the final third ku-important futhi for Tsunami.
Uyabona ke mawubheka ke ilokho ukuthi ke imi kanjani ke iSundowns isahlezi ke laphana ke phezulu go number 1 bana 27 points basashawe nje umdlalo ke waba munye ngesikhathi ke bedliwa ke iyona ke UWC ngamagoli ke amabili ke eqandeni kanti ke number 2 khona yona iUWC ina 23 points nabo ke badlale ke 10 games bane lose ke eyodwa kanti elinye iqembu futhi ke eline lose eyodwa iBloemfontein Celtic iyona ke ehlezi ke ku number 4 kodwa ke bana 20 points yabona ke mawubheka ke laphana ke ezansi kokhona iTsunami khona iGolden Ladies kokhona ke iCity Lets amaqembu ngempela ke abadedelayo amagoli asibone lo myakazo kaMphatsiya aliveza ke laphana ke eboxini eyabuya ke laphana ke iTsunami uMphatsiya futhi phezulu kwepali omuhle umnyakazo leshake crossbar liyabuya nangifuthi ke ebusa ke laphana ke epalini kodwa ke waselithatha ke goalkeeper uMosima umnyakazo omuhle uyabona ukuthi ke umqeqeshi khona akushilo lapha dressing room
mangabheka uMphatsiya ama stats wakhe bewaphakamile lapha Thuli umtholile uMabahle that's why uthola uMabahle awele phansi but also iTsunami carried on the way I mean ibhola beseliphumile la think unompempe nomsizi wakhe abalibonanga lapha in that situation but again as ngishilo ngathi uMabahle umtholile lapha uMphatsiya bheka le tackle le ama stats be up la umtholile and that is why ubona uMabahle alala lapha but now TUT inkinga abayenzile bamile after the situation they thought unompempe uzovuma ukuthi no uMphatsiya umtholile in that situation but fanele ngisho ibine enhlanhla iTUT because unompempe lapha kule situation allow play to continue.
Awumabahle ke 30 years center back ke yayo ke laphana ke iTshwane University of Technology udlala ke noSishweni ba strong bade bona ke laphana ke oSishweni ke benaye ke uMabahle yabona ke njengoba ke sithi ke iTsunami iyawadedela ke amagoli akulona lodwa iqembu elidedela ke amagoli ngoba njengoba ke bona ke sebededele 30 ngaleli ke la namhlanje eGolden Ladies iyona ke evuza ke kakhulu njengoba ke ihlezi number 15 badedele 37 goals wonke bese ukuthi ke iCity Lets iyona ke yase ke idedela ke amagoli ke awu 32 uyabona ke ngempela ukuthi ke bahlezi nje lapha ezansi bobathathu ke akulona iphutha ngoba ke idefense yalamaqembu ke omabili ayinhle ke neze I throw in banikeza ke laphana ke uTsekhofatso uMohlukelwa oyalithatha ke ibhola ke laphana ke Karabo uMfukenge uyalahla kodwa naye ke uMfukenge Vivo oyalungisa uVivo emuva onikeza Sishweni phakamisa amehlo Sishweni oyaphakamisa ke ibhola kodwa ke liyavinjwa liphumela ke ngaphandle Sundowns ke iyona ke ihamba phambili ke ngokushaya ke amagoli njengoba ke besadlale ke 10 games sebevalele phakathi ke amagoli ke awu 46 iyona ke laphana ke iMamelodi Sundowns kanti ke iJVW nayo ke iyawashaya amagoli njengoba ke sebevalele phakathi ke awu 25 bese kuthi ke lapha eRichmond United 29 goals iyawashaya ke amagoli eyona ke iRichmond United asibone nje emuva oyalungisa nje kahle kakhulu ke lapha Ramowaka emuva manje ke uyena ke Mabahle yinhle le yabhola ke lakhe Mabahle lithola ke uMohlukelwa oyagoba uMohlukelwa eboxini kodwa oyavinza ke laphana ke uMukwena Manana lase ke liphumela ke ngaphandle ke ibhola ohlezi phansi uSethunya 31 years ozalwa ke laphana ke eQwaqwa unamagoli ke amabili kule season ke yena ke uSethunya alahlala unyawo eqakaleni
unenhlanhla kakhulu lapha umlaba because mongayibheka kahle ngama start ibhola uthole but inyawo lilandelayo uthola uSethunya in that situation ube nenhlanhla ukuthi unompempe beka kude from le play le
throw in kuthiwa ke alibuye ke njengoba ke limehlule ke ibhola ke Ramowaka kuthiwa ke alibuye ke lizophoswa kuthiwa ke alibuye ke lizophoswa ke le bhola liphoswa eyona ke iTsunami Queens waliphosa liyaphakama futhi ke unyawo amastats aphezulu kuthiwa ke uyena ke la uMohluhelwa free kick izobekwa phansi kuthiwa ke ayithathwe ke iyona ke iTsunami Queens Ntsapesa 4 goals egameni lakhe ugcina ukushaya igoli ke ngesikhathi ke bedlala ke neGolden Ladies eyena ke uNtsapesa oyena ke othatha ke ama free kick kule qembu ke layo ke iTsunami Queens kodwa naba nje beyivala kalula jika kamnandi manje ke sethunya phakamisa amehlo alibiza uVivo bambona ngakwesokunxele uVivo oyalivala ungena ngaphakathi uVivo badlali 1-2 benaye ke usethunya ahlanganiswa amaphasi manje kuyona ke iTUT sala phansi ke usethunya onompempe ke nangu ebiza ke abosizo lokuqala ngokusheshsha osethunya ke uyena obengena ke edlova ke ngenkani njengoba ke ehlezi phansi ke lapha ke uMpatsiya 39 years omdlali ke oyi founding member yale qembu uMpatsiya
I think bekunokushayisana lapha in that situation makarola phansi usithunya uthole uMpatsiya because at the time uMpatsiya bekalinde ibhola lize kuye so bekunokushayisana that's why the tackle ingabonakalanga kahle but I hope ukuthi akalimalanga because hey lama injury wekhanda anesititi kakhulu
ngibona ke ngathi ke bafuna ukwenza ushintsho manje ke abayo ke iTsunami Queens njengoba ke bephuma ke naye ke ngaphandle ke laphana ke uMpatsiya amatsidiso 2 goals akuyona ke le season nanke nompempe ke khuluma ke naye ke usethunya awuyamkhuza ke ukuthi ke akangadlali ke kabi ke yena ke uMiss Sethunya abuya ke eFree State eqwaqwa asibone nje ukuthi ke uyakwazini ukuthi ke abuye aqhubeke nawo ke umdlalo kodwa ke iyashintsha iTsunami nangu manje uzweni yena ke lo ongenayo oshintsho ke lokuqala ke lwenziwa ke iTsunami Queens bakhipha Karabo Omufukeng bafaka ke uLebohange emukwena akuyena ke uzweni uLebohange emukwena ke lo ongenayo oshintsho ke olwenziwa ke iTsunami kuphuma ke uMfukeng kungena omukwena kuphuma umgadli kungena ke yena ke laphana ke umgadli lona shintsho ke esikubonayo ke olwenziwa ke yena ke umqeqeshi Thabiso Omfukeng iyalungisa iTUT kodwa ke uphasela nje izitha ke laphana ke ukwinana nalo shintsho bayamphumuza uMfukeng
ubonile uThabiso uMfukeng ukuthi i-combination kaMkwena noMfukeng bengasebenzi so manje ufaka uMkwena uthandana noMkwena phambili so the essence obviously uMkwena brings ama dynamics ahlukile kuMfukeng uMkwena is a bit she can play as a lone striker to allow uMkwena to drop into that kule center she can play alone lapho phambili so ispeed is corner but she can also give iTsunami the hold up play indlela yokubamba ibhola ukuthi amaplayer amjoin around
olungisa ke udonga ke lwakhe ke laphana ke uKabayi free kick kodwa nje bayivimba nje ekalula ejubane asibone manje ke uVivo ngakwesonxele kodwa khona
offside Thuli but fanele silungise leya sub le ecede ungena uzweni lo ongenile or letha ama dynamics are different we know she works very hard for iTsunami but we need to sort out the sub
uyavimba ke emuva awumabahle nompempe ke nangu ke ebiza ke bosizo lokuqala ngoba ke babili ke abadlali bathintekile iyona ke lapha iTsunami nangale ke ngakwesokunxele ngibona ngathi ke uyena futhi omabahle ke lona ke ohlezi ke phansi uhlala phansi okwesibili kodwa ke uyasukuma yena ke umabahle 58 minutes ebhodini 1 TUT not Tsunami Queens.
And just shy of an hour, TUT still with that slender advantage. Zwini there, the substitute, the number 20 coming on, looking to claw back the game for Tsunami Queens. Zwini, of course, the young striker, just taking a blow to her face there, making her way to the sidelines, and she desperately wants to get back on. But Nzapeza now being forced to restart it, and it's a lovely show of sportsmanship there as it's worked back by TUT, but lost out once again in Nzapeza, getting her feet on the ball once again. Such a commanding presence in the center of the park as TUT look to rebuild once again on the near side here. Just running out of room there, and Tsunami Queens just making sure and forcing them backwards. And it is important to note, however, that the longer the game stays at 1-0, the more of a chance Tsunami Queens have to claw their way back into this encounter. So it's paramount for the ladies in blue to keep the scoreline as is and potentially get that goal a little bit later on once this TUT side starts to slowly wither away. But that might change her with Kumalo. Chance for Kumalo as Kabai gives it away and a shot goes in. Kabai once again, and with a late tackle there. It'll be interesting to see what the referee suggests here, but all eyes are on the referee there.
A shot from Situnya. I thought Kabai could have used her hands, but she went for the foot. And remember, when she secures the ball, it also helps Tsunami to try to regroup. She was lucky not to be punished in that situation, but I thought she could have used her hands from the first shot that was taken by Usitunya.
Tsunami Queens are, of course, operating in mid-table, the bloodbath that is that mid-table. And they do find themselves in sixth position before yesterday's round of fixtures. So a chance to go fourth for the ladies from the capital, beyond the JVW and Bloom Celtic, of course. And Maini is just 1 point behind them thanks to their impressive win yesterday. But Kabai once again with a parry save and brings about a round of applause from her bench as she clears it upfield. Quite a big left boot there from the young goalkeeper. And Tsunami Queens now losing out there, and it's a throw-in awarded to TUT. As it's helped forward now. And a run in behind perhaps. Motlahuewa. And it's a fantastic recovery tackle there from Molaba, keeping a close eye on things, and we've witnessed that she has dropped back into that centre-back position. But she's provided support not only in defense but attack as well, as we can see there. Kabai just making sure that she helps that ball into her arms. But back to Molaba, she's been so commanding at the back for Tsunami Queens, despite the fact that they've already conceded. Molaba is rather consistent and she doesn't seem to make a lot of mistakes.
Look, Mulaba, first of all, we need to clarify. She plays as a wing back or central attacking midfielder, but today she's playing centre back. You can see from how she has the application, from a point of application, she has done so well thus far. Because she keeps it simple at the back. She communicates very well. You can see when they try to start the ball from the back, it always linked to her, and she can win the ball very, very well. So I think she started well, decently from the first half point of view, but I thought for me, the coach could have used her in a more advanced role.
Slight of a chance there, and on some occasions it has to be said, TUT just maybe guilty of overplaying at the back then, potentially giving Tsunami Queens an opportunity to pounce. But irrespective, the team in the blue come once again, but like you mentioned, Spivem Konza, the fact that the defensive line, you mentioned Molaba, keeping it simple, and you yourself know as a centre-back yourself, simplicity does bring about success, especially at the heart of that defense.
You spotted it very well, Ray, but importantly, you're saying TUT starts the ball from the back. The reason they start the ball at the back, they want to invite the pressure, but Tsunami, they're saying, we're going to sit on the mid-block. We can only press when you get to or approach the mid-block. So it's also a TUT counter strategy from saying, if we can, you don't want to pressurize us, it's fine. We can use the white areas. You've seen Villagas on the white side, on the other side, obviously with Ramukwa. So it's all the counter strategy that the teams need to apply, and I like how the coaches have been doing it in terms of making to counter their strategy.
Just losing out there, TUT of course, and Zweni almost having a chance to get in behind them. But Tsunami Queens, of course, approached this game with back-to-back losses against both Durban Ladies FC and City Lads, both of which were on the road. So their away record recently has rather withered away. But a throwing chance here for Tsunami Queens. Weni almost jiggles and dances away there. And Mosima keeping a close eye on her troops there as the ball comes in. And Mosima regathers rather comfortably. And with a team that find themselves at the root of the table, the rock bottom, it is paramount that they somehow find a way, whether that be a substitute change or a tactical change from Coach Tabiso Mofokeng. But they do need to at least today come away with a draw away from home. And as I mentioned, their home form hasn't been quite on par this season. So maybe the away games might prove to yield a chance for Tsunami Queens to gather some points and get some points onto that tally. But for TUT, they'll be hoping that they can put this game to bed as soon as possible. They did, of course, kick off this month of June with a scoreless draw against First Touch FC, one of their many draws this season, as I mentioned. So yes, they've only lost once this season, but they've drawn a couple times, 5 of those draws. So it's been rather frustrating as well for Coach Sizwe Sabia. He knows the potential this team does possess. And he'll just be hoping. We've seen glimpses, of course. The 6th position is it is a position to brag about and to be really to be fonded about, but I have to mention TUT do need to start turning those draws into wins if they want to make their way up to that Hollywood Bets Super League table. As it makes its way now up towards that halfway line, ladies and gentlemen, it is still 1-0 here, still a slender advantage in favor of TUT, as it's now all the way back to Dineo Kabai, and she's been rather active this afternoon, Tulimia.
Goalkeeper ke njengoba ke elixosha ke ibhola ke yena ke Dineo Kabai. Sevimbe ke amabhola ke ayingozi ke eza ke nayo ke laphana ke i-TUT. Emuva ke uyena ke lapha Lebohange Mabahle 30 years. Center back ke yayo ke i-TUT lapha benosishweni njengoba ke beqala ke emuva ke ku goalkeeper Dihopa Mosima yabona ke i-TUT le goli ke abebelishaya ke leli egoli ke number 20 emidlalweni ke eyishumi, kanti ke bona sebededele 13 goals. Ilona ke iqembu ke layo ke la sibone ke lapha ngawesokunxele ke njengoba ke eqala phansi oyena futhi ke Lebohange Mabahle. Ngesikhathi ke bedlala ke ne-UJ obedlala ke njenge right back ayena ke Mabahle, namhlanje ke udlala ke njenge center back. Yabona nje ukuthi umdlalo versatile ikakhulukazi ke kuyona ke i-defense bafuna uvivo alifika ibhola ke kuvivo oyabathathela Lebohange Muloyi bafuna Mpatsiya abamthola wayidlulisa uMpatsiya oyavimba ke kodwa ke lapha Ramawoka ibhola ke liphumela ke ngaphandle kuthiwa ke alibuye abaphose ke abayo ke iTshwane University of Technology. Bafuna ke ukwenza ke inguquko futhi abayo ke laphana ke iTUT bafuna ke ukwenza ke inguquko ezimbili. Asibone manje sithunya buyela ngasekhaya sethunya uthola ke ejabulile Masibuko sethunya nangedlula angenyawo lakhe lesinxele uyayivala uyayishaya ke manje ke icross eboxini kodwa ke base ke bephazamisana ke emuva balikhiphela ke ngaphandle ke ibhola ke abayo ke iTsunami Queens. Bafuna ke ukwenza ke inguquko ezimbili laphana ke uSibiya olona ke ibhenchi ke elayo ke iTUT. Asibone manje ke bazama ukushaya nje ugoalkeeper ebekude kodwa ke cha ukhona ke epalini odinewo akabayi ibhola ke lide elithola ke uSishweni esinginise center manje Gujamo goalkeeper ke kamnandi Gujamo ofuna ke Nthabise Mazowe libuya noVivo left back manje nange awugamenxe awavela waphasela izitha ke manje lapha uVilakazi oyabuya Mazowe oyalibiza Mpatsiya ibhola ke laseke libaceza nje bonke liphumela ke ngaphandle abayo ke laphana ke iTsunami Queens kothiwa ke abaliphose abayo ke laphana ke iTsunami Queens kodwa ke liphakeme iflag bathola ke ithuba ke lokuthi ke benze ke inguquko bayamkhipha manje umshayi wegoli uKhumalo kungena ke laphana ke uChabana noma ke kungena ke uThwarelo uMpuru olona ke ushintsho olwenziwa ke iyona ke iTUT uMpuru oyangena oyaphuma ke laphana ke uKhumalo kanti nalo Chabana futhi ungenile bakhipha ke uNomhle Zweni 2 changes eqenjini ke elayo ke iTUT kothiwa ke abaliphose ke ibhola abayo ke laphana ke iTsunami Queens yabona ke njengoba ke engena ke la uChabana onamagoli ke amabili egameni ke lakhe ke laphana ke uChabana kuyona ke le season nangebuya ke manje ibhola ke libuya noMgwena amgwena ke nangelishiya ke Mazowe ahamba phezulu nje manje ke amabhola ke ayo ke iTsunami banikeza umuloyi asibone manje ke bezama ukuthi ke baye phambili kodwa cha uNompempe uyakhuza
ukubula kula ma substitute tool. I think if Umpuru comes in obviously uKhumalo iservice bengayitholi kahle but Umpuru ulethe indlela yokugadla ehlukile kuKhumalo. Umpuru kune mobility element egamini yakhe but uChabana on the usangani bengasabaniki with combo yakhe noVilakazi bengasasebenzi. I think iTsunami bayilungisile indlela iTUT begadla ngayo. That is why indlela kaSangweni noVilakazi bengasasebenzi in terms of the interrelationship. uChabana noVilakazi watch out for that combo.
Asibone manje ke ibhola ke lihle kodwa lephuma ke phezulu kwepali ke belizanyiwe ke lebhola ke layo ke iTsunami Queens goal kick kuthiwa ke ayithathwe ke ibona ke abayo ke iTUT emapalini uMosima ugoalkeeper bayayidlala banikeza Chabana bamlahla phansi uNompempe ke uyakhuza othi ke alibekwe phansi ke ibhola ke kube ke ifree kick ethathwa ke iyona ke iTUT bayiqala ke emuva amabahle ebhola lakhe lide balivimba nje kalula kodwa ke ibhola ke lakhe ke uMabahle throw in kuthiwa ke abaliphose abe iTsunami ngoba ke likhishwe ke umuhluhelwa uyabona ke mawubheka ke amagoli ngempela ukuthi abathathu ke abadlali ke abanamagoli ke awu9 andisiwe Mgcoyi aboyitumelo Rabale bobabili ke badlala kwiSundowns ebese kuthi ke Nthabise ke Majiya awe Richmond United naye ke futhi ke una 9 goals kanti ke mawubheka ke abahlezi ke kumagoli ke awu8 babili awuyena ke uMichelle Samson owe Richmond futhi akumangazi ukuthi Richmond ebalwa namagoli ke namaqembu ashaya amagoli njengoba beshaya 29 ngoba abadlali bayo bayawashaya oMajiya naye ke uSamson bese kuthi ke Mikhe Minisi eqenjini ke le Sundowns naye futhi ke una 8 goals kanti ke abana 7 babili Gabriela Salgado olimele ke njengamanje ona 8 goals nalu ushintsho futhi oTlailana onegoli ke elodwa oyangena kuphuma ke uQuinana ubedlala ke eCenter yena ke uQuinana edlala ke naye ke lapha uSethunya njengoba ke benza ke ushintsho manje abayo ke iTUT
like for like change le to Tlailane you want to stabilize you want to strengthen le center to make sure that it's not my icon ukudlala le combination play so Tlailane it's a like for like change there
oyalithatha ke ugoalkeeper Adinewo Okabayi osadedele ke igoli ke elodwa ke laphana ke ephalini ke lakhe eyena ke laphana ke uKabayi Mphatsiya osola phansi uthi uNompempe abamenzanga lutho anali ibhola manje ke lithola ke yena ke lapha Tlailana cross nangu goalkeeper imisa nangu Phipha uyalivalela phakathi kodwa lephuma ke emuva nje kwamaphali ethuba leTUT angazi bisikuphi defense iyayo ke iTsunami lapha ngoba leli bhola linakale ngapha kokuqala ku right back ku left back yabo no goalkeeper nangesenza iphutha naye
a presence of mind lapha to in that situation because already you can see uniyabona ukuthi iTUT ithumela i-strength sayo sisama side indle abadenja ngayo bayakhona ukushifta i-point of attack from left to right and uVilakazi you can see bamthulisile njengoba bengishilo ngathi if bangadila nalento ema-side bayibiza white load overloads that is why uVilakazi hasn't been effective kule second half but into important ukuthi Tsunami they need to have that presence of mind there are situations lava switch off gone
throw in futhi njengoba ke ibhola ke likhishwa ke uyena ke laphana ke uGujamo 15 minutes kuphela manje bese ke umdlalo ke uyaphela Tlailana ongena nje khona manje nangelivezela Sethunya laselonakala ibhola layo ke laphana ke iTUT
TUT have managed to collect 3 wins on the bounce against the likes of Coal City Wizards, Vasco da Gama, and of course the home team in action later on this afternoon. UJ, of course, taking the field, the home side, the ladies in orange against Thunderbirds ladies. Another mid-table clash. I mentioned the bloodbath. That is that mid-table. So both those teams will be looking to get one up against each other come that 3 o'clock kickoff. But for now, it's TUT who have the first job at hand, and that is to secure victory and potentially put this game to bed with the second goal. But Tsunami Queens still very much in this encounter. I mentioned how important it is for them to keep the scoreline as is and prevent and potentially cause an onslaught towards the end of this game, where the chances will be created, of course. So the current league standing of TUT is definitely a fair and honest reflection of their form throughout the season.
I think I see the personal change with regards to how TUT have made the subs. Kailana goes to her normal position, which is the right back, and obviously Tunya now she's going to drop into a deeper role into that defensive mid to obviously create those 2 double pivot with Mazibu. So I think coaches is seeing some obvious coaches, you know, in terms of the reading the game, they see he wants to change the principles, but what's important is TUT wants to maintain and stabilize that midfield.
There were some changes for this TUT side as Zwini gets a taste of the ball there. Thanks to a horde of TUT players, eventually dispossessed of that one, the young striker. Tsunami Queens do possess a number of young and talented strikers, the likes of Zweni Mokoena and Mofokeng, who came off for Zweni and Nzapesa. So my question to you, Spiro Mkonza, is they have the talent all the way around the field. We spoke about Nzapesa and Mulaba at the back, who's captain today, and also Zweni coming on from the bench. Where is this team going wrong throughout the season?
We spoke about all it's linked to how they prepare for the season in terms of the preseason and also the day-to-day running of the players. I mean, Chabiso Mpukeng works so much with the players. He spoke highly about how they prepare. Sometimes the reason the team is not performing very well, it's linked to the preparation in terms of some of the players don't come to training because of the school, because of some of them are they've got their job, their daily jobs. So when you prepare as a coach, you need your full core of a team in order to prepare going for the weekend game. So it's linked to so many issues or dynamics that the team are facing.
I mentioned some of the changes for TUT. Chavana coming on for Sangweni. As we can see there, Victoria Gujama making her way off the field. She's been in the trenches today, in the heart of the midfield, of course. Mpuru coming on for TUT in place of goal scorer Kumalo. They'll be looking to save her legs for the midweek's action that's expected later on this week, of course. But it's that goal from Kumalo that is the point of difference in this game. And it's the only goal separating these two sides. As TUT trying to find a through ball there. Tsunami Queens holding on firm, and it has to be said, Daneo Kabai has been quite active in the second half. She looks again for Zweni, the diminutive striker, so that long ball strategy might not prove to work. I mean, you are dealing with Zweni and Mokoena, slightly smaller, more diminutive, more reliant on their pace than their strength perhaps, so that long ball strategy might not necessarily work for Tsunami Queens, but only time will tell.
You want to see her mobility being effective, so you play the space, you pass her on the side.
But a chance here for TUT to put the game to bed finally, but Daneo Kabai with an eye-to-eye save. She holds on to that one tight. You can see the cheeky smile on her face. Perfect opportunity to end this game off. And Mpuru, the player coming on for Kumalo.
Interplay. Mutlogelo and Mpuru in that situation should have terminated. There's no excuse. Pick up the spot, but directly into the Cooper's rage. I mean, Kabai, good save. We need to give credit where it's due. Kabai's positioning has also helped in that situation.
Daneo Kabai now, of course, on the turf. She has come on for the injured Butumelo Molotsi in that position. Just a little bit of a highlight package of some of her saves here in the second half. There in the first half, a wonderful save from the corner. She's definitely kept Tsunami Queens in this game, it has to be said. Some important saves, quite an obnoxious, not really an orthodox save there with her feet. And then a double save there, parry save. So it's been good enough. She's been really solid at the back for Tsunami Queens.
I think looking at the last 3 games that she has played prior to this game, you'd see the improvement. I think she has done well. Look at this termination from Mpuru. Positioning also has helped, but it shows in the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, they've been working so much on her goalkeeping. I give credit to the goalkeeper coach, because Kabai sometimes shows she's made a lot of errors, but now you can see the improvement in her game. She needs to work more harder, because you can see that with more work in her game, she's going to improve drastically.
Definitely a more than capable replacement in the goalkeeping department for Tsunami Queens. Quite a hefty challenge there, of course, on Miss Setunya, attacking midfielder for TUT. She's been rather asked to do the dirty work in this game, forced to maybe get involved a little bit more deeper than what she would have been usually accustomed to. But there are some substitutions that are being prepared here from Tsunami Queens. We'll just confirm those with you when the time does come. But they are building from the back now. TUT still searching for that second goal, still searching to place that cherry on top of the cake and go home with 3 points here this afternoon. But of course, with local football underway, preparations are of course firmly underway after Desiree Ellis announced the final 23 names for that Banyana side, as Weni looks to isolate her defender there and looks to thread it through the legs, but not quite managing to skip past Vilakazi there. And of course, I did mention that Banyana team is a team with some familiar faces, of course, the likes of which include some of the Sundowns and JVW players. Definitely a team in combination of youth and experience. They'll be looking to go one better, but some substitutions here. Malloy coming off for Tsunami Queens. Their final substitution has been used.
That sub tactically it means now Likhodu, they're gonna change the system to 4-3. They wanna suffocate TUT with a high press. So it's gonna be Likhodu, Zweni and Mufukeng up front. So it changes the time on to 4-3 now.
Both coaches have played and showed all of their cards here this afternoon. There's nothing much more that they themselves can do from the coaching bench, it has to be said. So it's all up to those 11 on the pitch. And whichever way this game will go, it hasn't been quite an entertaining game. A little bit of a messy game. Not exactly the football purist's ideal game to watch, but nonetheless, it is an interesting game of football when only one goal separates these two teams. And Tsunami Queen still holding firm, still setting up that low block. I did mention that they usually play in that diamond formation, in that 4-4-2 formation, but sometimes it does slot to the 5-4-1 or even the 4-5-1. Look, you just insert the numbers, those blue numbers into the box.
Yes. Sometimes the low block is a reflection of being passive. It shows that maybe there's an element of not being sure about yourself. So low block will offer you security. It's always going to be, it shows the reflection of being passive from time to time.
But perhaps, yeah, for TUT, Vilakazi over the ball, as well as Mpuru. We did mention the golden opportunity that Mpuru had in front of goal. And it's Mpuru the one who puts it in, looks to challenge Kabai. And safely enough under the long ball, the goalkeeper, of course, equal to the task there right at the back, Dineo Kabai. And once again, looking for Zweni. And it seems as if whenever they recover the ball from the back after a TUT attack, they just give the ball away after that long kick and lose out on that ball. And the only way you can get back into this encounter is to get your hands onto that piece of leather. And thus far, Tsunami Queens just haven't maybe dealt with that ball well enough. But she's clearly unhappy there, Kabai. As the shot did go in, not quite managing to challenge Kabai. She did know her whereabouts, her front post.
She's clearly saying that why do you allow her to take a shot? I mean, you're offering her enough space to pick a spot and take a shot. Luckily that ball went wide, but she's saying why do you allow her to take a shot?
But as you mentioned, Spirit, the dangers of a low block does mean that you fail to press as a team and you allow these long-range shots to go in. And there are some dangers. Chabana and Mpuru and Satunya do have the opportunity to let loose from the long range, but a cross goes in from Vilakazi. Can it come now? But equal to it once again, Kabai. Back to you, Tuli.
Yabona ke ugoalkeeper ngempela ke obusy la kulomdlalo uyena ke uDinewo Okabaye ngoba ke maningi amabhola ke afika ke kuyena kanti ke yabona ke ngapha ke uDikhopa Musima ukuthi ke ayena useholidini okwakhe nje ukuthi nje ahlele kahle ke idefense ngoba ke umsebenzi omningi ke iqembu ke lakhe ke liyawenza ke emuva bayamklinela ngempela ke afike nje esexosha ke lokho ke akumele ke axoshe kodwa nje ngapha ke uKabayi amasave ngempela ke asebenzile maningi ke kakhulu ke kuona ke lo mdlalo ngaphandle ke kwakhe ke ngabe ke sibone nje amagoli ke amaningi kulona ke leqembu ke layo ke iTsunami Queens. Lo mdlalo ke kuzobe umdlalo ke wesihlanu ukulandelana iTsunami Queens ingayishayi iyona ke iTUT uma ngabe ke begcina ke ngokuthi ke badliwe throw in kuthiwa ke abaphose TUT eyalungisa emuva ahlayilane olishiya ke kuyena ke laphana ke Mabahle Sethunya obe nomdlalo omuhle kakhulu namhlanje obheke nje ehlikihla ngo left wakhe oshiya kuMasibuko anayi through ball kodwa ke ukhona ke laphana ke emuva umolaba ibhola ke ulikhiphela ke ngaphandle bayaphosa banikeza ahlayilane walinde stopini uhlayilane ebhola ke wasefika ke uNzapesa elikhiphela ke ngaphandle throw in kuthiwa ke akaliphose futhi yena ke ihlayilane laphinde ke laphumela ke ngaphandle yabona ke TUT mayisuka ke la kulomdlalo izodlala ke neqembu leDurban Ladies ozokhumbula ke ukuthi ke loyo mdlalo kwakumele ke udlale ke ukuvula ke isizini kodwa ke ngesimo sokuthi ke eThekwini kwakunezikhukhula wase ke uhlehliswa kolempela sonto ke esiya kuyona ke lo mdlalo ozobe ke usudlalwa ke phakathi ke kweDurban Ladies nayo ayenza ke kahle kakhulu ke kulezi insuku ayizodlala ke nayo ke iTUT nayo futhi ayenza ke kahle ke ngempela sibona uVivo ngakwesokunxele uyashaya uVivo ebhola lakhe liphuma ke phezulu kwamapali khona ke umdlali ke ohlezi phansi eqenjini ke layo ke laphana ke Tsunami Queens Vivo obethola ibhola ke ngakwesokunxele kodwa ke waseganga ke ngomsebenzi yabona ke iTsunami njengoba ke izinto ke ziqhubeka nokonakala umdlalo ke wabolandelayo bazodlala neThunderbirds ekhona ke la enkundleni iThunderbirds ngo3 o'clock izodlala ke nayo ke iUJ ibabhekile ngempela ukuthi ke badlala ke kanjani Mfukenge uhlezi phansi oyasukuma uyena ke Mofukenge ayabona ke nawo ama tackles ngempela ke kulomdlalo begibela ke phezulu kwakhe yena ke uSithunya analo unyawo ke ngempela ke liyangena size ke sabona ke ngempela ke kungena ke istretch kaningana ke laphana ke kusona ke ikona ke iTsunami Queens ophumela ke ngaphandle ke yena ke lapha uMolebehange Mofukenge oyena ke abamthintile nangwe uSithunya futhi ayidli pass kaSithunya ufuna uvilakazi kodwa ke uyafika kuqala ke ebholeni ke yena ke umolaba uyabona uSithunya uyaphaka ibhola oshintsha hlangothi zonke eqenjini leTUT kodwa uVivo ngakwesokunxele ibona abaganga ngamabhola
uyayilinka kahle iplay yeTUT uphethe lo shukela sithi uNtsundu lo I mean wangombheka makalibamba every time the thinking is a vertical pass the thinking is a progression pass so she's a very important component when it comes to how TUT attack ngakhona
njengoba ke ehlezi phansi uyena futhi ke laphana ke uSethunya othwala izandla ekhanda ke umolaba uthi akumenzanga lutho athi sibheke nangu uSethunya fika kuqala ebholeni wasemshaya ngempela ke eqakala ngenhla nje kwalo ke iqakala umthintile onompempe ke nangu ke ebabiza ke abosizo ke lokuqala kodwa ke ithola ke ifree kick eqondene nje ngqo namapali umsikhathi sokuthi asebenze futhi odinewo okabayi kuleli yapali ke layo ke iTsunami Queens asibone nje la ukuthi TUT izokwazini ukuthi ke inyuse iscore njengoba ke bethola ke ithuba ne90 minutes sihlangene kwangezwa ke imzuzu ke emibili nayo futhi iyaphela oSethunya udlala indima enkulu ke namhlanje njengoba ke iqembu lakhe elihamba ke phambili nangu lo yamhlangano futhi uVivo uhleze khona makukhona ke ama set pieces kodwa akayishayi khona ke manje ke noMpuru ongene ke esombeni ke esesibili uyayishiya uMpuru uVivo uyayifuna le free kick goalkeeper ulungisa udonga lwakhe akuba kekho kuleli yapali ngabe sikhuluma enye indaba manje yena ke uKabayi asibone nje ukuthi iyogcina ke ishawa ke ubani le free kick eshawa ke uyena ke uFIFO wayikhipha ke phezu kwamapali uVilakazi.
She's very indecisive in my situation. Sometimes she wants to bend, she wants to go for power. She needs to get a clear indication we are for power or we are bender, because now so is to uzama keeper goalkeeper phezulu, but didn't isebenzanga namhlanje le ndlela yakhe yokugadla. But again now technique unayile technique ukuthi ashama ama-free kick amnandi.
Onompempe ke nanku ke ewuqeda ke umdlalo uthi ke isikhathi siphelile, 3 points iyawuthatha i-TUT ngegoli elilodwa eqandeni elivalelwe phakathi uNombulelo Khumalo ogcine ke engawuqedanga umdlalo. Lokho kusho ukuthi ke siyaqhubeka inkinga ziyanda eqenjini ke layo ke iTsunami Queens, njengoba ke namanje 3 points ke bengawazi ke kuyona ke le season. Yabona ke umdlalo ke olandelayo esobe ke suphethe ke futhi ke kuyona ke lenkundla University of Johannesburg izodlala ke neThunderbirds, kodwa ke ngaphambi kwalokho obheke nje board possession is 60-40, kanti ke amakhona ayisithupha ku-TUT, amathathu ke kulona ke iqembu ke elayo ke iTsunami Queens. Shots at goal is 16 kwawo 3. Umdlalo ke ozolandela ke kuyona ke lenkundla njengoba ke sike sasho ngaphambilini, UJ izodlala neqembu ke layo ke iThunderbirds isuka le eEastern Cape. Eqembu ke lona ke layo ke iThunderbirds elenza ke kahle ke nalo kuzona ke lezi insuku, kodwa ke ubona ke lo mdlalo ke engikhuluma ke ngawo lo UJ eThunderbirds bukhoma ku SABC1 Mzansi for sure. Asithathe ke zonke ke intambo esizibeke ke laphana ke kuyena ke uvusiwe Ngcobo usiphathele umdlali ke obevelele kuona ke lo mdlalo Mapholoba.
Thank you so much to Tsunami as well as the rest of our commentary team consisting of Uspuam Konza, also doubling up as an analyst there as well as Ray Kroon. We are now joined by Dinewa Mashawa of Hollywood Bets. She's here, of course, to announce the player of the match for us. Dadwethu, first of all, I was told player of the match
our player of the match for our Hollywood Super League is Dinewa Kabai.
Dinewa Kabayi, we did see her, Usisi Owayoge Tsunami Queens, doing such a stellar job in goals here today. She did manage to let one in, but thereafter it was on the up and up for her. Dinewa Siswami, congratulations. Performance ya kajego.
Thabile haholo ke improvile haholo ke proud ka nna ka ke le bua le team ya Tsunami for tshebedisano mo ya letsatsi la kajeno. Thank you.
And despite letting in that goal in the first half in the 23rd minute, we saw you still just building up confidence, and that goal didn't let you start doubting yourself.
Yes, ya ka ndia moya. Ile ya ba phoso fela mo. So tlamehile re itukise mo re se ke ra dia dihlo re phamise dihlo re ne re tswelle pele ka papadi.
Congratulations, Dinewa.
Thank you very much.
This is, of course, the player of the match here today, Dinewa Kabayi of Tsunami Queens. We do now bring in the winning coach, a coach like Hisbia. Coach, just overall, is this performance given this 2-week break, whether it's done you any good in terms of your performance?
Look, the girls put in a good shift today. I think there's nothing more important than stability in a match. I mean, if an opponent is bringing in pressure towards you, what do? You take that pressure away from where it's dangerous in the final third, your defensive third. Now you go forward. That is why we changed. We made sure that we sit with one setter. We put in the 2 number 10s. Now the pressure eased up a bit.
Coach, congratulations. You do walk away with the 3 points.
Thank you.
That is, of course, a coach like Hisbia, the co-coach of TUT. We're now joined by Coach Mfokeng. Coach Haribo, at the beginning of the game, maybe little draw more or even be lucky and get 3 points, but things didn't work out, and it's back to the drawing board for you.
Like ke tsholo re ba study le batho bana ba feletse ba change system ya bona le batho ka mono ba bangata ba etsa disapo tse ngata then le nna ka qala ka ferekana.
Hard luck, coach. All right, well, that's how we wrap it up for now here at the UJ Soweto Soccer Stadium. It is TUT that walk away with the 3 points, with 1 goal scored in the 23rd minute through Yenage Okomalo. Godowamanja, we take you back to the 3 ladies in studio.
Thank you very much there to Vusiwe Ngobo, pitch side, and of course our commentary team, Utulimiya Spiwe Konza, and of course Uray Kuhn. What a match we saw. The Tshwane University of Technology, they of course have got a victory against Tsunami Queens, 1-0. Ukumalo scoring. Claudia Zondo here, still joined by Simpiwe Gloria Brown. Very interesting 90 minutes. TUT unable to score. Lamagola esujwayele ukwabona when they play against Tsunami Queens.
I think it's a very good improvement for Tsunami Queens, because I think they've been one of our favorite teams to watch and analyze in studio. The only challenge for them was that they were unable to close off the back. And we saw character against Bloemfontein Celtics, and they brought that character to this match as well. So that tells you, Wuti, there's something great that the coach is doing. All he needs now is more quality players and understanding he's on the right track, because he was able to stop a TUT that at some points they had 5 going forward to attack, and he kept his cool, and he still had 4 at the back. Only later on he brought Nzapeza back to have 5 at the back. But for me, deserving also player of the match because of is calmness.
Into futhi beyijabulisa, Gloria, is just how we saw the team go to Ukabayi as soon as they realized that she was the player of the match. Really an outstanding performance. Of course, conceding 1, but the difference, because it could have been a scoreline that could have been really amazing.
When a goalkeeper wins a player of the match, it speaks volumes about the opposition. Which meant that she was able to keep her team in with a respectable scoreline. She made sure she kept her team believing. She made sure that she pulled off some brilliant saves. And I think we got to give credit where credit is due. She was the difference. But again, it's a collective effort. You look at TUT and you ask yourself, what didn't they do right? It is a team that seems to have done almost everything right, but we're just not able to score. And that's all due to a Dineo Kabai.
Absolutely. And of course, when you look at some of those score lines, TUT in 2019 beat Tsunami 7-2, 2020 6-1. 2021 8-0, and then in the other match 4-0. So it seems like a little bit of a victory for Tsunami Queens to know that they could walk away with a 1-0 defeat when they had been conceding 25 goals from TUT.
I think also when you look at the TUT, one of the reasons is that there wasn't enough fluidity in going forward in attack and all of that. Ndimen is not there, Koman is not there, Chabana did not start today, Merin Zwing was not in that lineup, and the list goes on. And those are the players that are usually in that field making sure TUT has been scoring in all these games. So for me, it speaks to versatility, to the coach to say he spoke about stability. That's the most important thing. How many teams in the league right now can have all those changes and still go for a victory, even against poor or less vicious or strong opposition? And that's for TUT not to concede as well, because Klaus said it. If you're up against bottom of the log, but TUT showed character. They still played their normal game, and Kabai was the only difference in there.
It's definitely that. TUT did not undermine their opponents in Tsunami Queens. And just to confirm the results, of course, that happened yesterday and today. Yesterday, we saw 9 goals scored. Today, of course, just that one from Unombulelo Kumalo. And in terms of City Lads, they went down 2-1 to my Indies, who are now 3rd on the table. First touch, Bloem Celtic playing out to a goalless draw. We saw double braces in the encounter between Durban Ladies and Golden Ladies, as Durban Ladies came out 5-1 victorious. We're getting closer and closer, Gloria, to that 300 goal mark. You know, I think now we're sitting at 289. It really has been exciting.
After 85 goals, we had a bet with coach and said we could be kicking it to 800 by the end of the season. But fantastic effort, and I mean for Durban Ladies to really get their first convincing really scoreline of 5-1. I think it was an impressive one.
It was an impressive one, and I think if you look at the log right now, unfortunate for Tsunami Queens, Wuti, they are resilient resilience is not really showing results, and they're still rooted at the bottom. It's still going to be a mammoth of a task, because even our opposition that are on top of them are not just that easy. They're working really hard right now.
Absolutely. And in terms of the top of the log, we are going to see there Uguti Sundowns, of course, are still at the top, closely followed there by UWC Indies. TUT, they were 6th and have now moved to 4th and now have 22 points. They still have a match that they still have to play. That will happen next week, Saturday, when they play Durban Ladies. And of course, the match that will be happening at just 3 o'clock, UJ, the University of Johannesburg, will be up against Thunderbirds. We will be building up to that encounter from 2:30. So do make sure that you tune in, because it will be an electrifying one. But for now, from myself, Uxolisando Simpiwe Dludlu and Gloria Brown, asike sivalelise kodwa siyabuya.
50/50 is back on air on Monday, 4th July 2022 with a brand new season. Join us as we take an in-depth look at the environmental issues that affect us all. Of course, we've also got all the nature, science and wildlife news and views that you need to know about. Save the date